Wake and bake. What am I doing? Judiciary. What am I doing? Good morning. What the hell? Did you hear noise? Oh, it was a cat. I'm sorry. Hi, good morning. What's on the agenda besides baking, of course? Well, let me tell you. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, SB. Happy day at work. Good morning, Jane. Oh my God, I'm late again. Wow. I'm so sorry. I'm late. What the hell is that noise? That is literally my cats. I thought I had some like show on. That's literally my cats. Anyway, good morning. Hi, Kevin, darling. How are you? Well, what's on the menu? Well, there's a lot on the menu this morning. Let me see. Let me look at my little notes. We've got some judiciary hearings. What did I write? Oh, gambling. There's some kind of thing on gambling, but there's actually other hearings too. And then there's another. Okay, can we play somewhere else, please? Thank you. We got zoomies. We got zoomies. Good morning, easily distracted. Hi, Carla. Hi, butterflies. Jane. Good morning, darling friends. How are you? I have a mellow hip hop beats. Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. I want to talk about a few things today too. I have some that thing about SoftBank really got me thinking yesterday. You know, the deal that Trump announced with his buddy Masayoshi Son from oh my God, I just forgot the name of the company. SoftBank. Blah, blah, blah. I'm having real memory moments. Anyway, so I think that the SoftBank thing is really interesting. And then I just started looking into other trade deals that had fallen apart. And I know a lot of you know this, and certainly someone like Lee knows what the history has been. But I just found it really interesting. Oh, I know why it's different. My light's not turned on. I just found it very interesting about what happened with some of those. It was the sound of democracy dying. No, it was cats fighting. Hi, Paulina and Paul J. Good morning, darlings. Happy Tuesday. Hey, y'all, we made it to Tuesday. Womp womp. Look at us. Womp womp. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, SoftBank. So I'm really oh yeah, I made it green last night. I was having a moment. I was having a green moment. Let's see, that's red. I don't want red. Pink's probably good. Yeah, pink's probably good. Anyway, you did like spicy Lolo last night? Oh, Paulina. Oh boy. Oh boy. You don't know how happy I am to hear that because I was in a fucking here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can get I just yeah. 4 hours is a long time. And here's the thing. I reach my I kind of reach my limit of uh oh hi Neil, out and about. Yay, be safe. I kind of reach my limit with being able to facilitate and maybe I take facilitating those conversations too seriously. Maybe that's it, but I feel a responsibility in as the space host to just make sure that the conversation, stays on track, basically. Not on track on topic, but on track without degrading into, a debate or whatever. Or a circular naval, like I don't want to make circular arguments over and over again. I do, but I don't want to. And it was so long. I took a nap during it, Carla. That's so awesome. Oh, but you were tired, babes. But yeah. And basically I don't know how to really communicate. I'm so glad, Oren. I don't know how to communicate that, these are I don't know. I'm not gonna go on about it. But anyway, yeah, how are you feeling, Carla? You on the mend at all or getting any relief? And we used to do like really long spaces, so it's not that I'm not used to that, but I don't know. It just when we start going really off topic, you know, like when it becomes and if it becomes kind of that regurgitating a lot of the although we talk about the same information over again. Oh no, 7 prescriptions and a chest x-ray. Oh my god, Carla, you need to rest, girl. You need to sleep all the way through till this gets shaken out of your system. My communication is always distracting. Yeah, it's just like I just I don't know. Well, and you can't open a new topic at the end of the space. I'm sorry. That's not you can't especially when the host has said, "We're gonna wind it down now." But at the same time, oh no. At the same time, I really want people to feel like they can come up and talk about, this is my issue and I really just want to get the word out. That I'm really happy with. But uh I don't think I have enough energy to have a whole new 3-hour conversation. Why does it make you crazy? What makes me what did I say makes me crazy? Shit. Um, well, what makes it's just because why does it make me crazy? Because well, first of all, I was exhausted last night. And so I don't know if you could tell, but for those of you who know me, I really was a little more short with people. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to ever like shut us down, but at the same time, I don't know. I just do the best I can. And then you know what? It usually comes out not great. Morning, I'm at the dentist. Oh, we'll say hello for us. Or say hello for us. You were firm and not mean. I really try not to be mean. I do. And I actually did apologize to a couple people after it. But anyway. Yeah, gal, run. Thanks. I was just trying to I'm always just trying to convey what's in my head and my heart. But, does it always work? I don't know. You do the best you can. And you know what? You say sorry when you don't hit the mark. That's what you do, and you mean it. But I will say this, I like to mess with one eye. Yeah. Here's the thing. That is the first time I've been able to have a research subject. No. But really, in all honesty, talking to One Eye gives me insights that I don't get otherwise. You know, like, oh, I love you, Paulina. You're doing this every day. It's okay. Express yourself. That's why we're here with you. We like all your colors, my dear. Oh my God, Paulina, thank you. Paulina has also been there since the beginning. Hi, Lee. Oh, no problem. Yeah, it was a great. Actually, I think it was one of the best spaces we've done, frankly, because I think that I don't have the chance to talk to. Yeah, Silicon Valley. I don't have the chance to talk to people who have a really, really different worldview from me a lot. I don't seek out those opportunities. And when I do have those opportunities, I tend to get shut down immediately because I'm a smartass, right? You know what I mean? Like, and I am really passionate about um, people's rights. So I was, I want to know. I want to understand how someone in that mindset thinks about things, right? And is there any conflict between what they believe the world to be and what their place is in it? And in pointing out the contradictions of what their belief systems are, I'm just curious what their reaction to that is. And for him, One Eye, he's also not a chud level. You know what I mean? So he can find more words to describe what his worldview is, you know? So I think I'm fascinated to ask questions and find out I feel like I learned a lot. Gal, I don't know about you, but I feel like we learned a lot. I learned a lot about what that belief system, how it works in the real world. Let me put it that way. Jane, I wasn't there consciously, mostly asleep, but it sounds like you were just being real. I try to always just be real, and it can be messy as fuck. Oh my god, I was so glad to see Dee in the space. You know, Dee is someone that I used to hang out in Dee's spaces every day when her and Eugene were doing them and stuff like that. So I've known Dee for a few years now. And I just really appreciate her voice. She has been so diligent about creating that space for democracy conversation and important conversations. She's very good at it. Of course, she's a professional. She's really amazing. So I'm so delighted that she came up. So I was really really happy to see her. I haven't seen her in a while, and I was really happy to see her. And I don't know, she's just one of the real ones, you know. Dee's one of the real ones, and she's in Tennessee, and she has worked constantly shouting and doing it in large platforms, you know, on Twitter and stuff. So I really, really like her. Oh, did you, Paul? Oh, yeah, I enjoyed the space very much. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed it very much. I just get tired. That's all. That's all. No big deal. No big deal. Yeah, but I hope that people aren't uncomfortable with the fact that One Eye is in our space. I certainly understand if people are uncomfortable, but I hope that I can reassure you that this engagement, you know, engaging with him in those spaces is really to understand. And that's really and we have fun, and he's able to take a lot of poking, and that's great, right? Cuz I can't stop myself sometimes from calling him. Oh, first of all, I also learned something about the word incel last night, so we need to talk about that. Um but I rib him calling him a robot. You know what I mean? Like and, but some of his life is kind of absurd. So, I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna get, you know, if you believe that, guess what? You're gonna take everything that comes with it, and he kind of does. I mean, at least he comes back. I don't know. So yeah, no, we do not agree on anything. There's no world in which One Eye and I probably agree on most things. Although I have a feeling he's curious. I'm sorry, I really do. I think that he realizes that there are parts of his worldview that don't make sense. You know, like women dying in parking lots. I think that gets to him. I really do. I really do. Um, so yeah, and Gal, oh my God, watching Gal interrogate someone is always is always entertaining. That's my favorite part of every One Eye interaction. And okay, listen, I've known that guy for a few years now. Okay, I have never heard him laugh like he did last night. He was drunk as a skunk. So when I came in, this guy who's like I don't even know what you'd call him. I call him like a mini Peter Thiel. he kind of like, you know, those kids who dress up as their idol? I kind of feel like he's probably that kind of kid, right? Oh, hey, Spot Man, how the heck are you? Where are you coming in from? Oh, there you are. Oh, good morning, darling. How are you? I dropped a link about a book about states. Oh, network states. Yes, Orin, I saw that. Thank you so much. I was asking out loud, where was your dad a cop? I always soften them up with some personal things and then hit them with the motivation and movement questions. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. When he was 18, 5 minutes ago. Mm, that's too much. It's just so funny that we started reading about network states. I haven't even thought about network states, okay? Okay. Anyway, but here they are, jumping in our laps. Jesus Christ. Um, so thank you for those of you who find it uncomfortable to be in the room with assholes, which I totally understand and I really, really appreciate. Thank you for allowing us to probe the person we beamed up. Because right now we're the aliens. And we're trying to save Earth. I don't know. I think I'm getting hysterical in my old age. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, we have things this morning. We have stuff this morning. I have a ton to read, first of all. And then I've got, what do I have? I have a judiciary hearing. I've got another judiciary hearing. Let's see. Oh, I also want to ask um what the fuck is the up with Prince Andrew? What the fuck is up with Prince Andrew? What the fuck is that guy doing? Can he he does everything, like he's found every single quicksand pit to walk into. What an idiot. I I'll look forward to laughing. Yeah, I know. Oh, I love Greg. I love Greg. Greg and Gal are great together too. I really enjoy that. And last night, folks, we put pressure on the kids. Yes, we did. I said, "Where is the Gal and Jim podcast?" Thank you. I want it all. I really do, and I mean that very sincerely. And maybe we'll get there. I know people are really busy. He's really trying to persuade everyone he's going to make the world a better place. But again, Commander, what's his name, telling Offred better isn't always better for everyone. That's it, Oren. That's it. God, man, a land of Goshen. Boo, 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 boo. Let's see. What else? Yeah, the Gallon Jim. Good. I'm actually glad he's been harassing you. Or I know he's kind of teasing you about it, but he does want you to do. The two of you are very good together, and you talk. Well, I would listen to that conversation. I would definitely listen to that conversation. He wants to be Superman and save us from ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, I really would enjoy that. I would enjoy kind of a synthesis of the work that each of them has done and presented in a podcast. I think that would be really, really good. And I would, and they appointed me one of their, honorary producers. So it's fantastic because I have all the questions ready. Yeah, that's going to be it's going to have to be a regular feature. I'm sorry. So anyway, we're pushing them to do that, which would be great. Oh, Greg Oliar. Oh, I wanted to read this, I think. I think this is the one I pulled up. Hold on. Oh no, this isn't it. Oh! Ooh! Ooh. Wait. All right, definitely. I'm going to read that and then we may have time to actually listen to the podcast, but we'll see. I like that. Thank you for that. Yeah, Gal has been on Greg Oliar's podcast like 6 or 7 times or something like that. Yes, make coffee. So yeah, I really enjoy when Greg and Gal also talk. I love Greg. He's a real good person. TYB season on Handmaids was Tybee season on Handmaids was filmed in my older sister's neighborhood in the Niagara area before the election. I was hoping it wasn't a bad sign. Oh, Jane. Oh my God. This is in the article. There is an insurgency within the GOP and the malign forces are in control. That is it. That is really it. That is really it. Yeah. Let's see. I know. Hey, guess what? We got a full movie week. We got all our movies in place for Wednesday and for Friday. So get ready. Wednesday, we're going to watch The Brink, which we watched the trailer yesterday for that. That's the HBO documentary about Steve Bannon. So Wednesday, we'll watch that. And Friday, we'll have a double feature. And it will be Princess Bride first. And then we're going to take a little different turn after Princess Bride, little racier. and we're going to watch the 1969 classic Carol Baker joint, thanks to lounger Max Flower, who basically is like she's like my film archive of camp movies and older movies. She's fantastic. She knows all the camp movies that are really good. So Friday, after Princess Bride, we're going to watch Orgasmo, which is a Carol Baker film from 1969. And I can't wait, actually. So Friday night, don't miss Wednesday and Fridays on Discord because we're going to do movies. And I'm looking forward to seeing The Brink. I haven't watched that yet. So the Canadians on here know Crystal Beach. The filming was on Hot Dog Alley. Oh, what Crystal Beach? That sounds interesting. But getting one eye to admit helps part of counter-majoritarian insurgency was affirming. Yes. Yes. That's the thing. He said some very interesting things last night. Oh, I love Birdcage. Let's do that. Let's do that. I love Birdcage. Yes, January 18th is the People's March. We're going to be talking about that. And obviously I'll be there. Obviously we'll film it. Obviously. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, January 18th, we're going to get out on the street. And I'm so glad they're branding it a People's March. Thank you for doing that. Let's doesn't have to be one, this should be us as a human race. Yes. I was going to say that, Max, but I wasn't sure. But Max Flower's avatar comes from Orgasmo. It's also known as Paranoia, the movie. But that's where Max's avatar comes from. Oh, good morning, Max. I can't type on YouTube, LOL, especially laid back in the dentist chair. Yeah, and you can't use like voice to text either. Lolo is intrigued by Crystal Beach, but I want to know about Hot Dog Alley. I'm so confused. Crystal Beaches, Hot Dog Alleys. Where is this heaven? Where is this heaven? It's in Canada? Oh my God. Book my flight. I know. I want to hear about it all, Oren. The new oof. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I felt really good. Well, actually, I felt like, I was exhausted last night, but yeah, I just have to pace myself. My days start early, and I can't do like heavy when you're hosting a space. And maybe this isn't true for everybody, but I am still on. Even if I'm not talking on the space, I'm on. I'm watching. I'm looking at people who are requesting, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah. By the way, One Eye does not have a model who speaks 3 languages and talks to him. LOL, that was a made up story. I could see him making that up. He was in kind of a scampy mode last night, being drunk and all. I don't know. Yeah, you just kill him. It's true. He comes back every time. I think he's curious. I think he doesn't want to be a robot anymore. I think he wants to be a real boy. I think he's coming back to us so that he can be a real boy. Oh my God. I think this comedy tour with him and I is probably a great thing because, if we did a comedy tour, him and I, what I said last night was, oh, it's Jane, you're gonna, yeah, probably listening to it on like 1.5 speed. It's 4 hours. It's like crazy. But he, oh wait, what was I gonna say? Shoot. Oh well, I can't really remember. The other piece is, in the beginning of the space when no one was there, because I always feel bad because if somebody's going to listen to the thing, like after, it's like there's usually like no talking for a while. So I sang If I Had a Hammer last night. So if you didn't catch the beginning of the space, the comedy tour, thank you so much. So I proposed that One Eye and I do a stand-up routine, across the country, and then leave me for no, you should come too, Carla. But wait. I think he and I told him the proceeds will go to providing safe abortion access and uh, uh, access to gender affirming care for trans youth, and also immigrate help for new immigrants, help for immigrants who are here undocumented. So I got him to agree that the proceeds of our tour would go to those, all $12 that we make. No. Yeah, Max, I did hear that one. I do to admit that if private health insurance isn't optimal. See, this is the thing. I know for a fact these guys live in the real world, I guess. I don't know, maybe they don't. But they shit and fart just like everybody else, and they buy eggs, Even robots buy eggs. So like sociopaths, they feel like can outsmart detectives. Yeah, I think Elon's like that. He hype BS and gets off on people believing his BS. Absolutely. Bingo, Jane. All right, I'll go. But One Eye's bus has to be a mobile makerspace. Oh no, he's in the trailer that's pulled by our tour bus. No, he doesn't get to be in the tour bus. No, Carla, that's for us. Okay, that's girl time. He can be in the U-Haul that we drag behind the bus. No. I think he's trying to play a game too. I understand that. I think in part we're a game to him. He wants to challenge himself. He gets frustrated that he can't out intellect me or you. Yeah, I do believe that. I do believe that. I think that he thinks of it as a uh, intellectual exercise or something. Which that's fine. I don't care. Go ahead. I still know I'm basically more world smart than you are, so crack on, knock yourself out, girlfriend. Hmm. Who was the guy when I was talking about that he said he wanted you two to be like a psychedelics guy and FBI agent? Oh, it was Timothy Leary, I think. And then I can't remember the name of the agent. I thought he was talking about Timothy Leary. I have to be honest, I didn't really follow. So he doesn't well, anyway. Never mind. Yeah, anyway, so Sociology 101, that's right. Class is in session. We got him to say stuff. No. I still think he's a little curious. I don't know. Maybe he does want to just have an argument. That's understandable. Maybe. Maybe he just wants to debate, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know. And then what does he say? What did he say last night? I know. His LSD guy story sounded confused or conflated. Oren, I agreed with you, and that's why I stopped listening. Oh, thanks, Paulina. Thank you. If you really listen to him, he's not super smart. The vocabulary is simple. It's his style and cadence that he uses to disguise his less superior intellect. See, that's my thing, okay? That's my thing. I think most of these guys, and I go back to my poop and fart, okay? Most of these guys are incredibly human, incredibly flawed. They haven't thought it all through. He's very obsessed with being perceived as smart, and we've known a lot of people like that. He's so it's like, come on. I don't know. But he doesn't call me the C word right away. So, that's something. That's progress. That's progress. Did you hear when I triggered him? Oh, that was significant. What was the question? What was the question, gal? Because I really noticed that. Oh, don't tell me that or something. Don't assume you know what's in my head or something like that. Oh, dude, you tell us what's in your head. What do you mean? Don't assume. You're presenting. How about that? It's giving you as an incel. Yeah, that was interesting. I was like, oh, 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 oh. God, I can't believe these people. Don't assume you know what what I know or have experienced what I have. That's true. And no one should. But I told him the people around him don't tell him the truth about who they are and that his friends are all at a surface level. That's what it was. Yes. That's what it was. Don't assume you know what I know or have experienced. Well, yeah. But that's when I said he was 18 5 minutes ago. Don't tell me what to do, Mom. I'm going to tee up our hearing for coming up here. Hold on just a moment. Yeah, oh my God. Ladies. I don't really. It was fun. I'm really glad. I always enjoy those conversations, frankly. My hello got deleted because I said poop and fart. Hi, Iggy. One more thing about Handmaids filming in Crystal Beach. The new Bethlehem scenes were filmed at the gated tennis club homes. It's really snooty. LOL last season. Oh my God, Jane. How weird. Like, what a paradox, right? What a paradox to have both of those things. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, it did hurt his feelings. Yeah, because they're my friends. Don't tell me I don't have real friends. Yeah, I guess you did. Yeah, he couldn't not be honest about that. So yeah. Hey, One Eye, if you're listening, I don't know if he watches. Good job last night. Thank you for being such a good sport. Gal, oh shit, they posted a thing about will be made at you for telling them they were misled. Yeah. Griffy! Hi, Griffy. Good morning, Griff. How are you, darling? Jenny's here. I'm finding our Judiciary Committee. Okay, so this is Criminal Justice Information System, but I thought I had another one. Hold on. That is the Judiciary. I thought it was about gambling. There was something about gambling this morning. What the fuck? Not that I really want to watch it. Oh, here we go. Senate committee hearing on legalized gambling. All right, so we have a Senate thing on gambling, or you can ramble, girl. This is Ramble Central. Didn't you hear? We can do that, or we can watch. Wait, hold on. I'm just gonna put this on the thing. Or we can watch the other one. What's the other hearing? On no. Oh, here. Oversight of the Criminal Justice Information Services Division. Jim Jordan. I guess we'll watch that. I guess we could start. Write it down, you said. I did write it down. But I just wrote down the gambling one. Oh, there's an antitrust one at 11:30 this morning that I really want to watch. So I may come back live for that one. So there might be two, but I think what I'm going to do is get us on. Oh wait, what's this one? Do 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 do. Wah 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 wah. Wah, Luigi. Well, let's do this. Get her ready. Let's get her ready to rumble. Wait, I gotta do this first. Hold on. This over here. I'm gonna move you over here, and then I'm gonna move you over there. Hey, hey. Oh, Jim Jordan decorated his committee page with Christmas. Oh. Oh, well, hold on. Hold on. Here we go. Wait. Oh my God. Indoctrination through gamification. Okay, listen. This is the thing. You brought that up last night. I'm so glad you did. I really want to talk more about that. Yeah. Hold on. Let me show you what I'm looking at. I'm so sorry. I should have done that. Boop, 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 boop. Bootily boop. Bootily boop, boop, boop. No, 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 no. Mm. Ah, ah, oh, and then I want to make that bigger. Okay. All right. Indoctrination through gamification. Seashell. Oh, I love Seashell's work. Their work on the Koch network is amazing. Indoctrinate, recruit, activate. Yeah, no, this is like just get them ready. They don't have to uh it can be messy, right? It can be messy. Yeah, there's the Nazi, there's the ginger Nazi, there's Palmer Luckey, who's the drone guy he founded Oculus, which then was sold to Facebook for bazillions of dollars. So he started out as a VR guy. He's Ginger Lucky's brother, Matt Gates' wife. So he's Matt Gates' brother-in-law. And he also has a huge contract with the US government for drones. That's right. Yeah, I did see that, Max. I did see that. So yeah, that's interesting. That's what it was. That's what it was. That's what it was, all right. Elon Musk set up his own alternative school for his children, describing the process as unschooling. I remember this. After he revealed traditional schooling was neither valuable nor interesting to him as a child, I didn't see regular schools doing things I thought should be done. Oh, really? You're an idiot. Okay, this guy's an idiot. The more we gamify the process of learning, the better. Now, I don't mind using gaming within the learning scenario. I actually can be very supportive of that. But the gamify in the hands of someone like an Elon Musk or others becomes a weapon to indoctrinate. And that is really welcome to Elon Musk School, where kids play with flamethrowers and shirk foreign languages. Oh yeah, Ad Astra. That's right. The school has no grades, so children 7 to 14 learn together in teams. He basically has. Do they sit in cubicles? I wonder if they sit in cubicles. Weird. Kanye did something like that too, and he's wacky as well. Oh yes, he did. That's right. That's right. He did do that. The techies who are hacking education. Oh wait, I kind of want to. No, I'm not going to read it right now. But I could fall down that hole pretty easily. Let's see. This one, let me just tee up all these. Make sure we have. And that is what I'm gonna do. New America. Let's see what this is all about. Let's see what this is all about. New America. Civic Futures 2.0, the gamification of civic engagement and kiddings. Ooh. Well, let's see. What do we got here? It's a public interest technology. I want to read this. He likes fish sticks. Well, I mean, who doesn't enjoy a good fish stick once in a while? All right, here we go. I want to read this. The gamification of Uranus. That's right. Stick a finger in Uranus. Ah. Yeah, we're going to wait for Jim Jordan, who's late, by the way. The pooping must be taking particularly long this morning. It must be a particularly testy defecation situation. All right. Subhadeep Josh is a senior consultant with FTI Consulting Asia's strategic communications practice at New Delhi. The idea for this research stemmed from his stint with the WZB Berlin Social Science Center. Citizenship is a fundamentally political institution. This research focuses on the intersection of technology and active citizenship, which is a central component of Republican conception of citizenship, where citizens are expected to engage in political deliberation and contribute to the common good of the community. This paper is a primer on the newer forms of civic interactions that emerge when gaming elements such as points, badges, rankings, rewards are introduced into a non-game setting like civic engagement. Further, it maps current trends. We're all headed to their Uranus. Yes, exactly. This paper is a primer on the newer forms of civic interactions that emerge when gaming elements such as points, badges, rankings, rewards are introduced into a non-game setting like civic engagement. Further, it maps current trends and variations around the gamification of civic engagement. It begins with two unique use cases from Boston and I don't know how to say that. Tlanapantla, I don't know how to say it, in Mexico, that illustrate how gamification can encourage greater participation in governance processes and possibly address gaps in efficiency facing democracies. Finally, the research attempts to form a typology of the various civic innovation projects in Europe and the Americas, and subsequently examines the broad level societal benefits and ethical challenges that arise from these interventions. The closing section of the paper, this is fascinating actually. Good morning, Oomph. The hand signal is okay only in America. Everywhere else, it means you're an asshole. I learned it the hard way in Brazil. Well, it actually means, yeah. So, and the way they do it is very specific. Because it's like white, power or something. I don't know. So, yeah, it's just, ugh. Blech. Ugh. The closing section of the paper introduces the context of civic engagement in one of the world's largest digital demos, India, and what a potential for gamification in the socio-political context could imply. While this potential for gamified governance looks encouraging, its use is being examined more as a complementary tool to existing approaches surrounding citizen participation and interactions. Let's see. I want to kind of get a feel for. Let's read this case study. In 2016, the city of Boston in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you very much. We're a Commonwealth. We ain't a state. That's right. Get it right. Get it right, Busta. I lived in Boston and Charlestown. I know. That's right. Uranus. How about okay Uranus? Put your okay up Uranus. No. Let's see. In 2016, the city of Boston and the state of Massachusetts, it's not a state, launched a springtime campaign called Spot Holes as a way to encourage constituents to generate more pothole reports during the snowmelt month of March, when potholes are especially prevalent. Prior to this campaign, residents could call a helpline to report such civic grievances. However, a major challenge existed within the helpline reporting system: the ability to situate these potholes within the neighborhoods. Subsequently, the Spot Holes campaign was deployed to report potholes with better accuracy across the city by using a mobile application-based scavenger hunt, akin to the augmented reality mobile game Pokemon Go. After creating a branded campaign with associated digital assets, Spot Holes netted more than 300% higher citizen-reported potholes than the same period in the previous year. And even better, the increased reports were accompanied by an accurate location because of the mobile reporting application's ability to geolocate issues, allowing users to snap a picture and send a note to the city. The success of the initiative led to a partnership between Niantic Inc., the developer of Pokemon Go, and the Boston Mayor's Office of Urban Mechanics to institute a participatory Pokemon Go initiative with school students. The initiative developed Pokestops, which provided a way of incorporating real-world locations into the game build. For example, the potential locations for Pokestops could be small parks or historic buildings. Students were asked to make short videos explaining why these locations should be included in the game. Then, a youth-led selection jury would pick the winning locations. The idea of involving citizens into this curation exercise was identified as a way to celebrate meaningful and accessible locations in the city and raise civic awareness among youth. As another example, and I really do not know how to pronounce the name of this city, and I apologize, Tlanepantla de Bas, a city in Mexico, suffered from low civic engagement, and its residents were indifferent to neighborhood problems. Is this? Where are you, Jimmy Jordan? Is it a tough morning? There was little interest, even in filing reports of criminal acts, which prevented the authorities from taking action. This indifference threatened the city's social fabric, making citizens feel disconnected and insecure. In 2016, an initiative from the mayor's office encouraged local citizens to participate in the community by choosing a good deed from a catalog. Examples of good deeds included voting, assistance to the elderly, job training, first aid courses, safety training, professional consultations, organizing cultural events, and self-employment workshops. Good deeds could be municipal, but also universal. For example, the promotion of environmental activities. Each good deed that was performed was recorded and given a score, and citizens were able to claim benefits according to their score from a parallel catalog of municipal benefits. Municipal benefits included bike rental and public transportation, scholarships, tickets to cultural events, and reduced municipal housing. The goal is to motivate civic activism with the hope that over time, such incentives will create a culture of communal activism. In the past few years, there have been suggestions to use technology to motivate more active citizenship. Let me just see. I want to see if they get into some of the issues. But I'll link this. I have to update both yesterday's show and today's still with the links, but I'll do that. Let's see. Where's your content? Okay, let me look at the contents. The development of smart water markets. Wait, is that? Oh, that's just this. Okay. Now I'm going down other black holes here. Okay, stop it. Stop going down don't go down the path. All right. This is interesting though. I wonder if they and Gal Gal shared this and we hadn't read it yet, but I wonder if they talk about the downsides. That's kind of what I want to see. Is there a downside? Let me just quickly. Impact. Okay, let me see this. Impact of gamified systems. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Oh boy. I don't know where Jimmy Jordan is. He? Oh, okay.
By securing the border, fixing the economy, unleashing American energy, and extending the Trump tax cuts. We will also work with President Trump's outstanding cabinet picks to deliver on our America First agenda. These guys will shake up the status quo here in Washington, which is exactly what Americans voted for and what they want. I must confess, I'm looking forward to a cold Christmas in Minnesota. But I think I can speak for everyone on this leadership team when I say we also can't wait to come back here in January to get the job done. And with that, I turn it over to our majority leader, Steve Scalise.
Fuck you.
Thank you, Whip. And, for the gentleman from
I bet you he
Minnesota, I know the cold weather, it can't be cold enough. It's probably warm for you right now. I want to open up by wishing you all a Merry Christmas. And we have a lot to do the rest of this week, but we all look forward to getting back home to our families and enjoying a great Christmas as we get ready for
just
what
got
will be
back,
a very
you fuck.
busy and productive new year, and a really important new year for the American people as we turn the page from the last 4 years of this disaster that's been the Biden-Harris administration.
Oh, a disaster? $35 insulin? You want grandma to die?
We have to do this year this week. And I know the speaker is going to talk more about the CR getting government funded, making sure we take care of disasters and our farmers here in America, and the important work that will be done this week. I think it's important to look back,
exactly, Lee,
as Blake did as well, on this last 2 years since we took the majority. You know, this Republican majority has been focused on fighting for those hardworking families who are struggling under the weight of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration. You know, we started off by saying we're going to promote energy security again. If you look at what the Biden-Harris administration has done, waging an all-out war and an attack on American energy,
so get ready.
That has driven up costs on families. That has
if
been
you
one
thought
of the
eggs were expensive
that's
before,
led to high inflation. Their runaway spending and their anti-American energy policies under President Biden and Vice President Harris has been the precipice that has driven a lot of this inflation. When you go to the grocery store, when you go to the pump, that has been devastating for families. We laid out a better way. We passed a bill, H.R. 1, to show the country how we can produce more energy in America, how we can lower costs, not just at the pump and when they're paying their electricity bill, but also when they go to the grocery store and so many other things that they buy. The border crisis is something that we've highlighted for 4 years now. We've called on President Biden to fix the mess that he created, but he refused to do that. So we said, we'll show the country
the election's over.
Secure America's border when we came together and passed H.R. 2.
Yeah, welcome to bird flu, right, Jen?
Bill this country's
welcome
ever
to bird
seen.
Flu.
And we worked very closely with President Trump as he talked during the campaign about this issue and let the American people know crystal clear that if he comes back into the White House as President of the United States, he will secure America's border. And Kamala Harris made it clear she wouldn't, as she said on The View, wouldn't change a thing.
Oh my God. The election is over, you big flesh bag. It's about, it's the spinning wheel of death now. But it's about how pasty his hands are. And he actually is suffering a great amount of blood loss at the moment. Must all be going to his penis. Because he's talking about his buddies. The farmers are already angry at Trump and sorry they voted for him. Some of them have to get a night job. Oh boy. Sorry, everybody. This is a Steve Scalise problem, not me. Oh my God. Come on. See if I can find this somewhere else. Hold on. Can I find the boys? Can I find the boys?
Said on The View, wouldn't change a thing from the Biden. So if we do get the House, Senate, and White House in January, which we now have, this mandate from the American people, that we will have already started the process to show the country how we can get it done so that we can start moving in January to address these problems. And in fact, we didn't wait until the election to start addressing these problems. We have, for months and months and over a year and a half, really, put that work in so that we'll be ready to go to work day one in January for the American people to address these problems.
Address
that
what?
Has been plaguing them, that were created by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Bullshit.
That will be fixed when Donald Trump becomes president with a Republican House and Senate.
Steve King,
and again, as I wish you Merry Christmas,
David Duke,
the leader of the House today, and in the majority by the narrowest of margins in January. But it doesn't matter. Having the majority is what's important. Is our Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Good morning.
How's
Merry
everybody
Christmas.
today?
Happy Hanukkah. This is a good time to be an American. And I want to tell you that we've been watching with great excitement what's happening. It's 34 days until President Trump takes the oath of office, but he's already begun the power of the Trump effect. And you see what's happening at Mar-a-Lago. There's more activity there than there is on Pennsylvania Avenue because people around the world recognize that a new sheriff is in town. The leader is back. And yesterday he announced that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion over the next 4 years and creating 100,000 new American jobs.
What happened to the original 50,000 jobs?
Piece of good news. Much more to come. America is already on its way to becoming great once again, and that's just because of the change of leadership. So we're excited for President Trump's second term.
He looks like that
You've heard a little
Lord
bit about that
Farquhar.
this morning. It officially begins in January, of course, and he
His
has an
little red
incredible
cheeks.
team around him. I've been visiting with the various
he's horrible.
cabinet appointees, nominees. Looking forward to meeting.
He's got
with Kash
he's got
Patel
his
and David
human
Sachs this
centipede
week,
lips already.
and have been talking
Used
with all of
extra
them along the way. I
chapstick.
think they're all on a path for confirmation, and that's an exciting thing.
They are
An
not.
important principle for us to maintain around here. The president gets to choose his
shut the
team,
fuck
and
up.
we're excited for that.
Yeah, not with
to
criminals.
be resolved in the early part of next
Well,
year.
where's Matt
But
Gates
as we,
then? What
near the
happened to
end of
Matt
this year,
Gates? I thought he
just
got
wanna
his
say- just
team.
stop
What's
to
the
say a word of
matter?
Thanks to the leadership
Johnny?
team here. These friends have done a great job in helping us to lead the
Mike's
conference
little
over
Johnson.
the last year and last 2 years, helping me for the last year plus as the speaker,
Liar.
and Leader Scalise and Whip Emmer and Elise Stefanik, who's our conference chair, who'll soon be serving the Trump administration in a new capacity. Our Vice Chairman Blake Moore, who's stepped in to fill the void here. An extraordinary team. They've done a great job, and I want to thank them for that. And despite all the challenges we had, we were able to secure key wins in this Congress. You heard Blake and Steve recount some of that, beginning with
Well,
H.R. 1, the energy
yeah, I
policy
know.
that we advanced, and H.R. 2 on the border. We held this
I don't
disastrous
know, Orrin.
administration accountable. We impeached Secretary Mayorkas. We held Merrick Garland.
Are we just going
contempt of
over
court.
the
We fought to secure the border. We passed, as I noted, H.R.
the
2, the
stupidest
strongest border
hits
security legislation
of
in
the
history,
118th?
and legislation to
that
stop
what we're doing?
taxpayer funds from going to sanctuary
I
cities.
mentioned a guy last
and,
night.
and
Oh,
to
shoot.
deport illegals who've been arrested for committing crimes
If
like
I was
violence
Whip, I would
against
never be
women
able
and
to stop
DUIs
singing
and
Whip It
Social
Good.
Security fraud and fleeing law enforcement. We did that.
I'm gonna
We
whip
advanced
it.
that
Whip it
legislation.
good.
We exposed Democrat support for non-citizen voting, and we passed
You
legislation
did not.
that would ensure that only
Okay.
Americans
You know
vote
what?
in
Shut up.
American elections. I think the attention that was paid to that.
Shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. And people have decided. People have told me that they don't want to hear you. Find him. Oh, shoot. What? He went to Servite. The guy I mentioned last night. Oh, shit. I would whip that whip. Good thread. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Well, Jimmy Jordan won't show up until Mike's Little Johnson has stopped talking, so there you go. Here we go. Wow, here's the thing. They do this all the time, right? They do this all the time. They just, oh my God. I almost feel like, here's the thing. I almost feel like, oh, Alex Bruzewitz or Gavin Wax. Are you thinking of Gavin Wax, Oren? Yeah, loungers came up to me with tears in their eyes. I wonder if it's Gavin Wax or Alex Bruzewitz, which I call him Billy Bruzewitz. That's right. Billy Bruzewitz fell off the stage last night and the acrylic butt plug punctured a kidney. I think it was a different one. Oh, okay. All right. I'll keep thinking of whose names I might have brought up last night. Democrats need to get on the lying train. I know. This is what we've come to, guys. We're actually looking to the other side to say, oh, well, should we be putting hashtags in our titles? Podium Putt said he was imitating Biden. Oh, my God. Well, you know what? He needs to check into rehab, probably. I don't know. No, those parties are really notorious. All right. This is Alejandra Caraballo. I honestly don't even know what to do with this anymore. The baseless narrative that every mass shooter is trans is completely solidified on the online right. It's completely memeified. No amount of fact-checking breaks through. It's so incredibly dangerous at this moment. This is the essence. Because it doesn't matter to people who are advancing MAGA narratives that there's that they just have to go to the most hate, they just have to make assumptions, and it actually doesn't matter to them what the truth is. Do you see what I mean? It can't matter, because they have now realized that all that is necessary in order to get some kind of hold on people's brains is that you just put the information out. And the network that I think they've conditioned over these many years.
Subcommittee will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess at any time. We welcome everyone to today's hearing on oversight of the Criminal Justice Information Services Division of the FBI. And I now recognize the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Moore, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's sorry. I'm going to make sure something doesn't play automatically.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I now recognize Ms. McBath to introduce us into a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And gun violence has ripped apart another community and traumatized more students in their place of learning. Just yesterday, another teacher and another teenager lost their lives, and children lost their sense of security to preventable gun violence. We have the tools and we have the means to stop these horrors and help stop this from happening. With the permission of the chair, I ask all of you to please join me in a moment of silence.
All of you, please join us in a respectful moment of silence. Thank you. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. We welcome everyone to today's hearing on oversight of the Criminal Justice Information Services Division of the FBI. CJIS was created in 1992 with the purpose of serving as the central operating system and location for criminal justice information services. The CJIS division provides support to law enforcement, national security partners, and the intelligence community while also offering some services to the public. These functions include the Uniform Crime Reporting System as well as the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, so that's UCR and NICS. With a 986-acre campus in Clarksburg, West Virginia, and more than 3,000 employees and contractors, CJIS is the largest division in the FBI. Since 1930, the FBI has collected and published crime data through its UCR program. The UCR program compiles crime data submitted by state and local law enforcement agencies across the country and publishes the information in annual reports. More than 18,000 city, county, state, tribal, and federal law enforcement agencies reported crime data to the FBI in 2023. However, the submission of crime data to the FBI is voluntary. According to one estimate, over 30% of police departments nationwide did not report crime data to the FBI. The crime data published by the FBI's UCR program helps inform policymakers and the public about the state of crime in the United States. The crime data also plays an important role in how federal grant dollars are allocated to state and local jurisdictions. For example, the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, the JAG program,
I cannot imagine
which is managed by Bureau of Justice Assistance at the Department of Justice, allocates federal grant dollars to state and local jurisdictions based on the population of the jurisdiction and the number of violent crimes reported to the FBI. In January 2021, the FBI retired the outdated Summary Reporting System, SRS, and made the National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS, the only method for law enforcement agencies to report crime data to the FBI. The NIBRS program allows law enforcement agencies to report much more detailed crime data, such as the date and time of the crime, the relationship between victim and offender, drug types and quantities, specific property involved in the crime, and many other data points. The data that gets submitted to NIBRS as also includes assaults on law enforcement officers and hate crimes. In 2022, there were 19,139 law enforcement agencies enrolled in the program, but only 12,725 of them reported crime data. The FBI has been estimating crime data since 1960, but in 2017, the Justice Department's Bureau of Justice Statistics and the FBI worked together to develop the National NIBRS Estimation Project. When an agency fails to submit crime data, whether for a single month or an entire year, the NIBRS estimation methodology, quote, approximates what the expected value would be for that missing data, close quote. The FBI concedes that the estimates themselves are subject to levels of uncertainty caused by incomplete NIBRS reporting, which brings us to one of the topics that we will surely explore today. In September 2023, the FBI released UCR data purporting to show a 2.1% decrease in violent crime across the country from 2021 to 2022.
I blame Montessori.
That was touted in virtually every hearing by my colleagues across the aisle, that there had been this remarkable decrease in violent crime under the Biden administration. But at some point between September and October 2024, the FBI revised its 2022 data to show that violent crime had actually increased by 4.5% from 2021. The FBI did not publicize its revision of 2022 violent crime data, and the only way you could see this change was to download the FBI's updated crime data.
I remember hearing about it, and you guys wouldn't actually shut up about it.
The FBI instead disclosed the revision in a footnote to its 2023 UBR Crime in the Nation survey, which stated the original 2022 numbers had been updated. This updated included thousands of murders, rapes, and other violent crimes that were originally omitted from the FBI's crime data. The FBI did not mention this significant data revision in its September 2024 press release about violent crime data for 2023. The FBI's revision of violent crime data confirms what the committee's oversight has shown. The Biden-Harris crime epidemic continues to escalate. Far-left state and local policymakers place the interests of criminals over the needs of their communities. Radical pro-criminal policies, including defunding the police, bail reform,
Nobody
make
is
it harder to put
defunding
violent
anything.
offenders behind bars and keep them out of American neighborhoods. While the Biden-Harris administration claims that crime is down, a reported 40% of Americans said in 2023 that they are afraid to walk alone at night, even within very close proximity of their home. That's the highest percentage in 30 years. The initial 2022 data, before it was corrected, was heralded as historic declines in the crime rate. Despite having the true data, the FBI never issued a clarification, while the incorrect statistics were used to push a false narrative. Media even used the incorrect data to fact-check President-elect Trump's correct assertion at the time that violent crime had risen during the Biden-Harris administration. While there may be an innocent and reasonable explanation for this revision and lack of reporting the revision, there's nonetheless an appearance of partisanship in what went on here. It is not unlike what happened with
everybody who doesn't, who says something negative about Republicans is all of a sudden against them.
It looked like Russian disinformation.
How does that work?
And the FBI remained mute.
And okay,
instead
Jim.
Of
all right.
Actually
okay.
revealing that the Hunter Biden laptop was true, which they knew over a year.
Oh my God!
Before they ever
that
released
is not.
that.
Stop it.
So I hope that today's hearing helps us clarify what exactly.
Look at all the little
here,
spots on his face.
And I hope it doesn't happen again.
I hope you get that mole checked
out,
Andy.
Yield back and
Bernie started that defund the police restructure.
For an opening statement.
Not defund. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would like to take a moment of privilege to welcome our colleague, Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter. It's an honor to have her with us today to observe and to serve with us. And we are really very proud of the legacy that you continue to carry on behalf of our dear colleague, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. Welcome. The FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services Division, known as CJIS, is an information hub that provides a range of tools and services to law enforcement, national security partners, and the general public. It facilitates background checks on prospective firearms purchasers, compiles criminal history reports of suspects, and maintains fingerprint databases, playing an essential role in supporting law enforcement and helping to keep Americans safe. I am pleased to welcome CJIS's Acting Director, Timothy Ferguson, here with us today, and I look forward to hearing from him about what Congress can do to best assist CJIS with the services that it provides to law enforcement and the American public. To the extent my Republican colleagues want to spend their time today discussing uniform crime data reporting about the year 2021, I would urge them to work with us to reconsider their focus. We are now at the end of 2024, and while we know that data shows that the violent crime rate has been dropping nationwide for several years, there is more that we must do to fight violence in this country. Violent
Johnny
crime
McEntee,
is not
that's right.
a partisan
That's
issue
it.
for me. It is deeply personal. Gun violence and hatred took my son Jordan from me 12 years ago. I vowed that his death would not be in vain and have devoted every minute of my life to working to prevent other parents from joining this ever-growing club of parents who have lost their children to preventable gun violence. Yet this year, firearms have been responsible for the loss of nearly 16,000 American lives, and yet another mass shooting at a K-12 school just yesterday. That is why I am particularly interested in hearing from Mr. Ferguson about CJIS's role in maintaining the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, the NICS system, and how that system helps to keep firearms out of the hands of those who are not permitted to have them. I also hope to hear about how CJIS has and will continue to implement the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. That legislation made several months ago. So I am very, very grateful for your presence today. I hope that this next Congress, my colleagues across the aisle, will focus on additional legislation that will help to reduce violent crime even further, like banning assault weapons, establishing a federal extremist protection order system, investing in community violence intervention programs that have been shown to actually reduce violence, and giving law enforcement the funding that they need to keep us and our officers and our communities safe. And as we close out the 118th Congress, I look forward to hearing from Mr. Ferguson about CJIS's role in protecting the safety of all Americans. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the chairman of the full committee, Mr. Jordan, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an opening
He's done
statement.
pooping. That was like a record poop for Joe, or Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, Chairman Jordan. Without objection, Ms. Lee Carter will be permitted to participate in today's hearing for the purpose of questioning the witness if a member yields her time for that purpose. We welcome you. Glad to see you here. We miss your mother, and she served on this committee a long time, probably a lot longer than me as I reckon it, but we're certainly glad to welcome you here today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And today is the last hearing that
That's so cool that her daughter
Scott
is
Titus
sitting
will be
in.
with us.
Oh,
He's been
fuck
working
yeah.
with the majority party on judiciary for the last year or two, 18 months. He's with DHS, HSI. He's done a great job. He's been invaluable in providing us information and helping us understand that particular agency. And Scott, you'll be missed, and we wish you and your family the best as you leave this bubble and go back to the reality in Kansas City. So thank you. Thanks for being with us. Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. We will now introduce today's witness, who is Mr. Timothy Ferguson. Mr. Ferguson is the Acting Assistant Director of the Criminal Justice Information Services Division at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He's held that position since April 2024. We welcome him and thank him for appearing today. We'll begin by swearing you in, Mr. Ferguson, and ask that you please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? The record will reflect the witness's answer in the affirmative. You may be seated. Thank you. Please know that your written testimony will be entered into the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we ask that you summarize your testimony. You'll have 5 minutes to summarize your testimony. There's a clock in front of you. As it begins to wind down, it sounds a siren, et cetera. No, it doesn't. It does not. But you'll see it coming to 5 minutes, and that's when we'd ask you to wrap it up. And I'll probably tap on this just a little bit, not too loud, not because I don't want to mess up your flow, but we would like you to wrap at 5. And now, Mr. Ferguson, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Good morning, Chairman Biggs, Ranking Member McBath, and members of the subcommittee. Today, I'm honored to be here representing the men and women of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Criminal Justice Information Services Division in Clarksburg, West Virginia. The CJIS Division is one of the largest divisions in the FBI and serves a unique role that provides vital services not only to law enforcement and criminal justice agencies, but also the public we serve. Our North Central West Virginia campus is home to thousands of employees who are responsible for many public-facing programs that keep Americans safe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When
I really thought that lady had a cat in the seat next to her.
Or sends a submission through tips.fbi.gov, the CJIS Division triages and disseminates those tips to our field offices and other local, state, and federal partners. Dissemination of those tips saves lives. Our employees are making firearms eligibility determinations in an accurate and timely manner, ensuring citizens are able to exercise their Second Amendment right while keeping weapons out of the hands of those prohibited from possessing them. Last year, we processed nearly 10 million firearms background checks. We manage the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC, a lifeline for law enforcement with an average of 10 million daily transactions. The CJIS Division also houses the Next Generation Identification System, a fingerprint and criminal history repository that contains 86 million criminal fingerprints and processes a daily average of 220,000 prints. The program celebrated its 100th anniversary this year. And for more than 90 years, the Uniform Crime Reporting Program, or UCR, has been viewed as an authoritative source for understanding the scope of crime in the nation. Our teams now work with over 19,000 law enforcement agencies to collect, validate, and publish that data. We have a no-fail mission, and I cannot be prouder of our workforce our ability to manage services and systems 24/7, and the significant contribution we make to public and officer safety. Our employees serve with professionalism and integrity. On their behalf, I would like to express my appreciation for your time and interest in learning more about the CJIS Division. I would like to speak briefly about UCR and our Crime in the Nation reports. The UCR program collects data on crimes reported to law enforcement via the Summary Reporting System, or SRS, and the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS. SRS was created in the 1920s, and NIBRS was initiated in the 1980s and provides more granularity in reported offenses than SRS, such as specific circumstances and context for crimes like location, time of day, and whether the incident was cleared. In 2016, the UCR program began transitioning to a NIBRS-only collection with a deadline of January 1st, 2021. This transition was recommended by law enforcement partners and endorsed by the CJIS Advisory Board, which comprises representatives from criminal justice and national security agencies and organizations throughout the United States, including the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the Major City Chiefs Association, and the Major County Sheriffs of America. During the period between 2016 and 2021, many law enforcement agencies transitioned to submitting crime through NIBRS, while others continued to submit through SRS. The FBI publishes an annual report entitled Crime in the Nation that describes crime data submitted by law enforcement agencies from around the country. The publication also includes spreadsheets containing underlying data so users can conduct their own reviews and analyses. Each year, some of the more than 19,000 law enforcement agencies around the country submit incomplete or no data. And CJIS uses statistical methods to estimate the crime for those agencies to provide a comprehensive view of crime in the nation. Typically, however, the agencies that contribute data cover more than 80% of the population. While a substantial portion of agencies around the country transitioned to NIBRS-only reporting by the January 2021 deadline, we nonetheless had gaps as numerous agencies, including some large agencies representing significant populations, did not submit data. When it came time to publish the NIBRS-only Crime in the Nation 2021 annual report in September of 2022, only about 65% of the population was represented by NIBRS participating agencies. The UCR program was unable to apply the traditional estimation methods, which require a statistically acceptable level of participation to develop year-to-year national trends. In order to close that gap of missing information, the UCR program resumed collecting SRS in 2022. In 2023, to produce meaningful estimates for the two-year trend between 21 and 22, we manually sourced 2021 data from large agencies that did not submit NIBRS to supplement what was reported that year for a statistically acceptable level of participation and a more representative trend. The trend determined reported crime decreased an estimated 1.7% from 21 to 22. Each Crime in the Nation report contains a table showing crime rates for the previous 20 years. When we released the Crime in the Nation 2023 report in September of this year, in one of the many steps we're taking to become more transparent with the data reported to us, we automated that 20-year table. This allowed the system to automatically pull data reported to the FBI to generate trends for all years in the table. The SRS data manually sourced in 2022 filled in the gaps for 2021 and demonstrate the year-to-year trend was not included in that automation process. This meant the crime estimate for 2021 appeared lower because it did not include the manually sourced crime data, and as a result, it appeared that the violent crime rose from 21 to 22. There are many intricacies when it comes to data. Please know the CJIS Division is dedicated to being transparent in the process.
So if you could wrap up, I'll let you go almost a minute, so extra. So.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Director. And now we're going to proceed with under the 5-minute rule with questions, and I recognize the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Tiffany.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Ferguson, we see there's about 30% of municipalities are not reporting. Is that accurate?
That is not an accurate statement. So for 2023 reporting, we had approximately 94% population coverage and 83% of agencies either reporting SRS or NIBRS to the UCR program.
But it wasn't that way in 2021, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
So are there any large municipalities that are included in those that are not reporting?
Most of the large, most of the population
did not report, not are not reporting.
We are collecting that through SRS. So we are collecting the most in population cities.
Are any of them not included?
Not to my knowledge.
They're all included?
They should all be included. The most in population cities should all be included within the SRS or NIBRS reporting.
Who's responsible within your agency for notifying the public of these, the crime data?
Ultimately, the buck stops with me as the acting assistant director for the CJIS division.
There's this press release, October 16th, 2023, FBI releases 2022 crime in the nation statistics, very prominent press release. But there was not a similar press release put out in regards to the revision that was done just recently. Why wasn't there not a press release put out in regards to the revision?
Sure, I appreciate the question. So to be clear, we did not revise any of the data. When we received a notification from various agencies, including news agencies and outlets requesting information about the 2021 data and why it appeared lower, that's when we were notified what we understood that the automation process did not include the manual data that we had put in there. And as a result of that, we were able to update our Crime Data Explorer, which is where all the data is housed, and be a little bit more articulate about what the data shows and how the fact that it's actually missing data.
Isn't one of the purposes of what you do to make sure that the public is aware if crime is going up, so that, just from a public safety standpoint, isn't that one of the purposes of having this data?
I would say that the main thing for us in the CJIS division is that we want to make sure that we're providing accurate, unbiased data for individuals to make decisions off of that data. We don't want to...
But if crime is going up, isn't it worthwhile for the public to know that?
Absolutely.
Why didn't you put out a press release? Why didn't you put out a press release saying, we, regardless of the circumstances, you changing methodologies, stuff like that, that you're using to measure crime, why wouldn't you tell the American public that with a prominent press release, just as you did when you said that crime was going down and people across America knew it was not?
So I stand behind the 2022 report, which shows the information that was published in 2022 for 2021 stats. And I think it's important to make sure that we're very crystal clear here that we did not change any of the crime numbers for 21 to 22. We stand beside those numbers.
Is Professor Carl Moody at William and Mary College has done extensive study in regards to crime. Are you familiar with Professor Moody?
I'm not familiar with him.
He said that huge changes in, very small changes in over the last 20 years that he's been studying crime. He said the huge changes, especially without
They
an
didn't have
explanation,
all the
make it difficult to
reporting
trust
done
the FBI data.
in 2021,
how the
right?
public
They
should
didn't
view
get
this,
all the
that it's very
numbers. They had about a
difficult to trust this
65%
data?
response rate
I certainly understand the angst
versus their
with
normal
the
response rate.
crime data.
So they manually
but I do wanna be
adjusted
clear that we
and made
have
some
no intention whatsoever
extrapolations.
of deceiving the American people
And then
with
that
the numbers
data
we
was then,
receive. We
hence,
wanna put the
after that
information out
time,
there
corrected,
unbiased for
right?
decision-making
Because people
purposes
ended up
for,
reporting. So the
legislators,
old
lawmakers,
data is
policymakers,
overwritten by
law
the new
enforcement.
data,
Our goal is
which
to make
of
sure that we're
course
providing
results in an
information that is
adjusted
provided to
report.
us from local law
Sure, you
enforcement
can
and
do more
unbiased.
like
Are you planning
explanation,
to stay with the FBI as
but
the
I don't know. I feel like
new
I
administration
understand what
comes
he's
in?
saying
Yes, sir.
as someone who's had to look at data.
Do you make a commitment to work
But I
with
get
the new
what the
director,
I get what the
director
pony show
designee,
is.
Kash Patel?
I will make a commitment that as an executive of the FBI, I will work with anyone that is nominated and confirmed by the Senate for the director.
Do you have ideas to help him make the FBI a better agency? We've detailed in the Judiciary Committee so many times the failures that have been out there, the 51 in regards to the Hunter Biden laptop, Catholics in Richmond, Virginia. I mean, it's well detailed. Do you have ideas to help Mr. Patel as he comes in to be the new FBI director to make this a better agency that will now have the trust of the American people?
So,
Gentleman's time has expired, but you may answer the question.
thank you, sir. So my scope of employment in the CJIS division, I certainly have ideas on how we can continue to improve the background check process, how we can improve information sharing with law enforcement partners, how we can improve biometrics within the CJIS scope of work. So I certainly have ideas on how we can improve the CJIS division.
Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Chair recognizes the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. McBath.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Infrastructure and funding have proven to be hurdles for the cities attempting to switch to the NIBRS system. How many cities are still struggling right now to make that switch, and how can Congress help as they make that transition and they make that switch?
So thank you, ma'am. I don't have the numbers here in front of me for the number of agencies that have not transitioned to NIBRS yet, But what I will say is we do conduct extensive outreach with the agencies who have not transitioned to NIBRS. And I would also like to highlight very quickly that the law enforcement agencies want to switch. And so incentivizing them is not necessarily necessary, if that makes sense, because they want to switch to NIBRS because they understand the value in the NIBRS program, the NIBRS system, and how it will be useful to the American public as well as to policymakers and law enforcement.
Thank you. And so we know that the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act was very pivotal legislation for gun violence awareness. Among some of its functions, it included updated language so that domestic violence offenses, including dating relationships, were included. How has NIBRS adjusted to include this additional information?
So the NIBRS system, I don't have specifically what the question asks when in regards to the incident, but that would be captured within that incident. And I think it's really important for us to highlight the fact that we do have to do extensive research and education for our law enforcement partners, because particularly with things with the dating relationships, we want to make sure that that's documented in those offense reports so that we can make determinations on, down the road on firearms eligibility should that come to fruition.
Thank you so much. I'd also like to take a point of privilege to express my gratitude to Jill Gensling for her contributions to the Judiciary Committee. This is her last hearing with us, and Jill has been instrumental in supporting and furthering the work of the committee in the 118th Congress, both through the Subcommittee on Crime and her extensive involvement in oversight of the federal government. We are forever grateful for countless hours that she has dedicated to serving the committee, our members, and the country. And we know that great things are ahead for her, and we wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors. Thank you, Jill. And I'd like to yield the balance of my time to our colleague, Ms. Lee Carter.
Thank you, Ranking Member McBath and Chairman Biggs, for the opportunity to join here today. Thank you for all the staff who's worked so hard on this committee for over the years. It's a privilege to be a member of the esteemed Judiciary Committee. I'm the newest one, and to round out the important work in the 118th Congress. The critical issues of criminal justice and oversight of federal agencies within this jurisdiction are ones my mother, the late Congresswoman Jackson Lee, held to the highest standards and scrutiny in ensuring justice, fairness, and dignity for all Americans. Assistant Director Ferguson, my only question is, and thank you all I really want to thank you for releasing a hate crime report. It's important that we acknowledge these types of crimes by race, by gender, by sexual orientation. In my local community, Houston, we hear those stories. We've had a lot of attacks against transgender Black women, and they deserve to be heard. Their voices deserve to be acknowledged. What type of incentives have you offered to local law enforcement, and what have you seen as successful, maybe to bring them along to participate in data collection?
So what I would say again, I think the value that we provide in the CJIS division,
and
with
if
our
there hasn't been any
education, and again, the value
incentives given, and people really want this change, what's holding them back from full implementation?
Partners with us and making sure we're getting accurate crime data out, so that it can be used across all aspects of American life, from the public safety to the legislative and policy making to academia. We're constantly working with our local and state partners to make sure that we're educating them on what we want to see or what should be seen within the NIBRS report. But again, I think it's really important to know that this is something that they want and they're asking for as well.
Well, I hope we can continue to support data collection in your work. I yield the balance of my time. Thank you.
Ms. McBath, do you yield back as well?
I yield.
Thank you. The gentlelady yields. Chair now recognizes the chairman of the entire Judiciary Committee, Chairman Jordan, the gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Director, did you lie or did you guess?
I'm sorry, sir, can you repeat?
When it came to the numbers, you were off. You said that violent crime went down and it actually went up. So I want to know, were you lying to the country or were you just guessing?
So if you're referring to the 2021 data, I want to be clear that the information that we have, our most complete data set from the information we collected, shows that the crime went down. So I think when there is a question about that.
Oh, so you're saying you weren't lying or you weren't guessing, you just got it wrong.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Well, my understanding is you reported that violent crime went down 2.1% for the year that you were reporting on.
He just takes in the data, bitch, okay?
Fact, it went up 4.5%. So you were off by a pretty large margin. I want to know what was the reason for you being off and having to adjust that figure and say, no, we said it. I think you even said in the press release it was a historic decline when in actual fact it had increased. So I want to know again, what was the reason for you getting it wrong? Guessing, lying, or you just screwed up?
So I want to be clear that the report that we issued in 2022 that showed the decline from 21 to 22 is in fact true and accurate. What is being misinterpreted right now is that our automation numbers that are showing in the system now do not show that manually sourced data. The team really wanted to make sure they got it right. So we only had 65% of the law enforcement agency population coverage when we got the 2021 numbers.
Well, let me ask you a simple question. Did it go up or down?
It went down, according to the data set that we have.
And then what was the number you reported that went up? What was that number?
We did not report a number that went up.
So the footnote that said it increased 4.5%, that's wrong? Something's got to be wrong, because on one hand you say it went up, on the other hand, previously you said it went down. I mean, which one is right?
I'm not familiar with the footnote that said that crime went up by 4.5%.
4.5% increase in violent crime.
I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to look into it.
You're not familiar with that? That's the whole reason you're here.
I'm not familiar with the footnote in our system that says violent crime went up 4.5% in 21 to 22.
You submitted that report. You had it said it went up 4.5%, and you're saying that's not true?
According to the data that we have from 21 to 22.
Can somebody pull the fucking footnote?
Violent crime went down. And then what's the 4.5% that said it went up? Where'd that come from? We're just making it up. The chairman talked about his opening statement. This whole committee, the stuff we put together that we looked at for our preparation for the committee, all says it went up, and you're saying, nope, that's not true.
I believe that the 4.5% number came from outside sources that are looking at the data as it sits today. That is incomplete. It only has the 65% of the law enforcement population coverage.
Oh,
you stand by the
now
number
I
you
get
reported
it.
back in earlier this fall, the 2.1% decline in violent crime.
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I think that would be a surprise to most people. Most people we talk to feel like violent crimes increase. Certainly seems that way. But you're
Are we
saying
talking about feelings?
Didn't at all. So
Jimmy?
How was the interpretation made that said it went up 4.5%?
So if you look at the system as it sits today, if you go into the Crime Data Explorer and look at the 2021
I understand
numbers,
what he's saying now.
that is it's an automated system because we're trying to go to monthly releases. So as a result of that, it's an automated system that pulled only what was reported to the FBI in the NIBRS program,
Which was 65%.
which was only 65% of the population. In order to try to get it right, our team went out and manually sourced data from agencies that did not submit NIBRS, like New York City,
Exactly.
Phoenix, Chicago, and used those numbers to supplement the NIBRS reporting in 2021 to be able to have a more true and accurate depiction of crime in the nation.
And what was that number?
And it went
you
down.
put it all together, what was that number?
For the number of coverage was about 78% of the 78.5%.
No, what did it go up or down?
It went down.
Went down. Okay, but that's still not all of it. That's 78%.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Oh, yeah, okay,
But you
Jimmy.
stand by that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
So that's where we're at. All right.
Oops.
I mean,
Oops.
this has been the whole concern is that,
Oops.
on one hand you said one thing, on the other hand we had something reported that people analyzed and said, no, it actually went up. We'd like to get the accurate information. Yeah, I yield to the chairman.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Director,
Did I
want to
do
ask a question,
that?
because this kind of gets to the nub of it, right? So you said 78%, you're based your data on 78% participation rate ultimately, right? Because whoever didn't participate, you went and looked at whatever their public reporting was, right?
Yes, sir, and in addition to that, the extra 22%, we used traditional NIBRS estimation methods to look at like.
So let's leave the estimation methods off for a second because I don't have time to get into that. But I want to ask this question: if I understand what you're saying today, if you looked at the automated responses, that's what these people who are independent researchers look at, and that's where they would have derived a 4.5% growth in the crime rate. Is that fair?
Yes, sir. That's fair.
The time has expired, and now.
The whole bottom.
We recognize Mr. Garcia from Illinois.
Jordan's anger just fell out from under him.
Mr. Chair, and to the witness, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the UC Summary Crime Report to the Nation of 2023, which shows that on page 3, the report that the FBI submitted and this division of CJIS shows that crime went down.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to switch over to an extremely important topic under CJIS purview, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or NICS. I represent a district that includes a part of Chicago and its western burbs. And in my district, like in many across the country, reducing gun violence is a primary concern. We've got a lot of work to do on this topic, and a lot of it is beyond the scope of this hearing. But I believe in a fundamental reinvestment in communities disproportionately harmed by gun violence. That being said, there are many common sense steps that we can take to reduce gun violence, and NICS is a vital frontline tool to keep guns away from dangerous individuals. And I'm proud to have supported the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which, among other things, are overdue changes that strengthened the background checks done by NICS. Director Ferguson, can you briefly address how NICS has changed over time to enhance the efficiency and accuracy of background checks, including through improvements made by the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about the great men and women in the NICS section and the work that they're doing over there. The implementation of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, we implemented that as soon as it was passed. And since the implementation of that act, we have done approximately 359,000 under 21 gun background checks. So as you're familiar with the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, under 21 requires us to do multiple things. One is to check with the state repositories for criminal history as well as mental health for juveniles, as well as to contact local law enforcement in the jurisdiction where the individual resides. So as a result of these three enhanced background checks, we have conducted over 359,000 under 21 checks. And in addition to that, we've hit just over 960 denials based on that, and the rest of them proceeds. It has been a little bit of a difficult effort to explain to our law enforcement partners why we're contacting them, but we have made some significant strides. We started off in the single digits with the number of responses we were getting from the state criminal history and mental health repositories, as well as law enforcement agencies. But now we're at an average of over 70% responses from all those agencies to our inquiries. We still have some work to do. There are still some agencies, there's still some states out there that do prohibit the sharing of juvenile mental health and criminal history information, even if it's to the NICS background check system. We still have some more work to do, but we're working through that process, and the amazing men and women in the NICS section are doing a phenomenal job implementing that, as well as the provisions of the Brady Handgun Act.
Thank you, and please keep working on that because the increase in participation is critical. Can you provide some examples on how these improvements have helped individuals with, say, mental health concerns or a criminal record from getting a gun?
So we see in my position here, I'm very lucky that I get to see pockets of excellence across the entire division, but on a daily basis, we're seeing the denials. If there is a denial that comes in on an under 21 check, those are reported to me on a daily basis, and I am seeing that individuals who have some mental health issues or have been adjudicated as mental defective have been denied, as well as a myriad of other different offenses in which people happen to be denied for that. But I want to highlight specifically, again, what I mentioned before, that we're just over 960 denials with over 359,000 or 354,000 checks that have come in for under 21.
Thank you. Let me switch gears to data security topic. It's of primary importance for a government agency like CJIS that handles sensitive personal information. What measures does your division take to ensure that data confidentiality is protected within the NICS system? And you've got about 15 seconds.
That's a great question. I would say, we obviously are implementing the executive order that was passed here recently with regard to cybersecurity. So we're implementing those processes, as well as the implementation of the NIST standards for cybersecurity excellence. And so we're also implementing those procedures as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Nels.
Hey, Mr. Ferguson, thank you for being here. 19,000 law enforcement agencies reporting. Are there 19,000 agencies reporting Is it required to report their crime?
No, sir, it's not.
Do you believe there should be some
Mr. Nels,
law
do you have all
that
your
would
teeth in?
require a law enforcement agency to report their
I'm
crimes
just
to
asking.
their communities? I mean, if I was going to move into someplace, I'd kind of want to be able to go to a website to see how many index crimes, you know, the robbery, rape, murder, all that.
What I can tell you is that my
Do
experience.
you think the
with law
president
enforcement
should be
agencies we
able to
work with,
sue a
they
private
want to do this.
citizen
They do.
They do want to report this stuff.
for
to
doing
us.
their
Most
job?
of them?
All of the 19,000 that are in the program right now want to
Okay,
report.
all right. If I was the mayor of Chicago or New York over the past couple of years, you think I would really be willing to release all that information?
That sounds like a
to
feeling,
the
sir.
FBI
I'm
so
not
the
here to
American
answer.
people can see?
I'm not here to answer
increase the
about
crime.
other people's
I'm not
feelings.
certain the process that would be followed for the mayor to stop the reporting of uniform crime reporting to the FBI.
Well, if there's no teeth behind it, if New York City,
Have you been on a data
Chicago,
collection?
and
Let me
LA,
tell you about
big
data
cities,
submission,
you talk
okay?
about, what is it,
Annual reporting. Let me
78%
tell you about
participation
it.
rate? When you have those three big cities with the millions of people in it, they didn't report in 2021. So
What's going
how
on
in
with
the
the
hell would
hair?
anybody even on
What's
the
going
city
on with the
council or
hair?
anybody in that community even
Too.
know?
I got a lot of
do we have
complaints,
enough
Mr.
police?
Nels.
Also in the UCR and Nibbers, I'm a little experienced with this because I was a sheriff, but it also shows the solve rates of the crimes. Like, what is the average solve rate? Explain to people, what's the average solve rate on a burglary in the United States of America?
I don't have the numbers.
Oh, it's less than 10%. We don't solve too many of them. But the point I'm making, this is good information
I just
for the
pulled that out of
American
my right
people
butthole.
to have at their disposal as it relates to whether they want to move into a certain community within a certain state. And why would New York, I'll tell you why would Chicago, LA, and New York City not want to report their crime? Because it's bad. It's bad news.
Well, that sounds like
Politics
his
gets
feeling,
involved,
Mr. Nels.
And if you don't have to report it, why should I? I would
Oh,
report it.
Poilievre held a presser
I think this
after
committee
Chrystia
should look
Freeland
at it
resigned.
and say maybe we should require, because if you
Yeah.
don't report
Max,
it, you're
questions
hiding
from a
something.
former
Because
dirty
I
cop.
loved reporting my crime in the UCR because we solved more
You never
crime than
caught me,
anybody.
coppa.
And it was something for me to motivate my personnel with. And being an elected sheriff, I was sharing with people. We solve more crime and have
Right,
less
BRB.
crime than all the surrounding counties. It was good news to share. But if you're one of those municipalities where crime is out of control, and we've seen it in these large cities, Chicago, LA, New York, you're not going to want to report it. Do you believe that we should withhold any type of grant funding? UASI grant funding, all of it from municipalities that refuse to report.
So while it would be improper for me to talk about withholding funding, what I can say is that the law enforcement agencies that report, we are at almost 85% of law enforcement agencies that are reporting, covering 94% of the population.
Have you ever changed a report? Has a large agency or any one of the agencies ever called you up one day and said, hey, buddy, you reported this, but we sent you that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, here's one. Baltimore reported. Now, you would think the city of Baltimore would know how many homicides they have. I mean, come on. I mean, pretty simple. Part one, index crime. They reported 262 murders in 2023, and you reported they only had 225. How does that happen?
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But
You wonder why your agency's not trusted, why the FBI needs to have a completely overhauled. The Milwaukee Police Department reported a 7% increase in robberies, but the FBI showed a 13% decrease. Who's manipulating this data?
what I can tell you is that the law enforcement agencies have the ability to change their data at any given time. We don't stop them from doing that. We produce a static report that's static for that time period, and that at any given time they can change their crime stats. But we have no desire but to do anything but get it right.
So the Washington Examiner had a report back in April 5th of 2024 that exposes your inaccurate information in the reporting that we've seen out of the FBI. It needs to be addressed, and I'm hoping this committee can look at holding large agencies accountable. I know the UCR is a little different from NIBRS. It's a little bit more complex, a little bit more complicated, but I think we should require agencies to provide that information, whether it's good or bad, because I think the American people have a right.
Would the gentleman yield for once?
Sure, time's out. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Does Chicago report, Mr. Ferguson, its data to the FBI?
I'm sorry.
They didn't
Mr.
report in
Garcia.
2021, that's clear.
Sorry, Mr. Garcia, time has expired. We're both, for every gentleman up here, both you guys, it's expired. Chair recognizes now the gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ferguson, thank you for being here. What criteria does NICS use to determine whether an individual is prohibited from purchasing a firearm?
So the National Institute Background Check System searches 3 databases. We search III, NCIC, and the NICS indices to determine if a person is prohibited from purchasing a firearm.
So what is III?
III is the Interstate Identification Index, and I apologize, that is the criminal history index that is maintained within the Next Generation Identification System.
I got you. So how often are denials reviewed to ensure accuracy and fairness?
I'm sorry, sir.
How often are the denials reviewed to ensure accuracy and fairness?
How
often are the denials reviewed? Sorry, maybe it's something.
How often do we have, over the course of fiscal year 24, we had approximately 10,000 requests for a review of denials. And, excuse me, let me make sure that I have the numbers right on that. 18,000 was the number, 18,500 requests for review on denials. Out of those, 10,000 were sustained, and approximately 3,000 were overturned.
Okay, of the 116,578 denials in 2023, how many denials involved confirmed criminal activity versus administrative or technical errors?
For the 2023 numbers, I don't have that in front of me, but I can get a report for you, sir.
Any idea what percent maybe were technical errors or possible administrative issues?
Across the board for the years past, we've had a very small percentage of those because, as you're aware, the background check is a biographic search, and so there are occasions where there will be matching numbers or somewhat close numbers for Social Security numbers or names that will be a match.
Oh my
so there'll be a
God,
denial
Max,
based on that process.
that's right.
So what steps are taken to address the wrongful
Nels
denials
is such a
and to clear
fucking
individuals
piece
that
of
may be
shit.
unjustly flagged?
So I think we're very adamant that we need to make sure that we are working with providing that customer service and that value to those individuals who have been denied. We work every single day, generally speaking, with individuals who contact us. We have a tip line that they can call and talk to us about a denial, and then we'll walk them through the process to where we give them what we call the voluntary appeals file. So we'll give them a PIN. So in the event that this ever happens in the future, they'll have a PIN so they can give the PIN to the federal firearms licensee so that they will not be denied anymore, unless there's obviously another issue down the road.
So how do you ensure that law-abiding citizens are not improperly denied their Second Amendment rights?
We continue to, we have a quality assurance program that we use within the NICS section to make sure that we're getting it right. So we take a sampling of all of the transactions that come in, and we have a pretty robust QA program that looks at that. And what we do is if we find discrepancies, we'll work with the individuals who have attempted to purchase a firearm to get them through that discrepancy. We also learn from that. We use that for our training to train our people to make sure that we're getting it right. And I'm very proud of the fact that over the last 35 months, actually, we have hit our immediate determination rate of 90% or better.
Gustafer
over the last 35 months.
Gustafsson.
And what that means is within the first 15 to 30 minutes of a person standing at a gun counter, over 90% of the time we're able to make an adjudication right there at that moment and allow them to either purchase if they're not prohibited or deny it if it's a prohibited person.
What happens if you don't make the adjudication within the 30 minutes while they're waiting there at their Ace Hardware or whatever it is to buy a shotgun? What happens?
So generally speaking, what happens is the remainder of those will be transferred over to the NICS section where we have legal instruments examiners who are looking at those as they're coming in. We adjudicate the majority of those within 30 minutes of receiving those if we can. And then the remainder of those may be delayed because we have to try to get some more records. One of the issues we're having in a lot of different states is we'll have dispositions that aren't entered into the system. So we'll see a person that's been arrested for a particular crime that may be prohibiting, but there's no disposition, so we're not really sure if that person is prohibited or not. So what we're having to do, that's an example. So what we're having to do at that point is we have to delay, and then we have to contact that law enforcement agency or court system and request those records to make sure that the person is lawfully able to purchase a firearm.
My understanding is if
So
you
maybe
don't get an
the
answer
person should
within
just
3
go to
days, they're
Applebee's
required to
until
say
their
the firearm
gun is
that
ready.
correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I don't
According to
know.
the provisions of the Brady Handgun Act.
Okay.
They're authorized to, the FFLs are allowed to, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Kiley.
Good morning, Director. There's been some confusion about the methodology behind the calculation of the crime rate and the reporting statistics. I wanted to try to clear a few things up. So typically, I believe you testified that the jurisdictions that report sort of voluntarily make up some 80% or 80% of jurisdictions report. Is that right?
For the law enforcement agencies that cover, for this year, 83% of the law enforcement agencies covering 94% of the population.
Okay, and so your
It's
usual
fine.
methodology
It might
to
as well
fill in
have
the
been
gaps
Gus.
is
He can't
you
haul his big
use
ass
the
up here,
existing data
but,
to sort of
he
identify
wants to.
comparable jurisdictions to the missing jurisdictions, and then use that to come up with an overall holistic estimate. Is that right?
What?
Yes, and I apologize, I'm not a statistician, but yes, that's at a high level, yes, that's what we're doing.
But the problem in 21-22, you said, is you only had 65% of jurisdictions report, and from a statistical point of view, that wasn't sufficient to then use your typical methodology to fill in the gaps with a like jurisdiction comparison. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
Exactly, because that's
So then
actually
in order
very
to reach
not
that
data.
threshold, you went out and manually collected statistics from jurisdictions that hadn't voluntarily reported. Is that right?
We collected data from
Okay, butterflies,
agencies that had not
have fun
had not
doing
transitioned
chores.
to NIBRs yet.
Right, and so then you kept doing that until you had enough data overall to use your typical like jurisdiction estimation method to come up with a nationwide estimate. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what did and you're claiming that then that number, based upon A, those who reported voluntarily, B, those you manually collected, and C, the estimate you came up from the jurisdictions that were still missing, that comprised of what, 1.2% decline or whatever it was. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so what does this manual collection process look like? I guess that's what I'm curious about.
So essentially what we're doing is
that?
we're going to the
Tell me about monitoring and evaluation and data collection.
For instance, Chicago is an example.
gonna
Has
learn.
a ComStat that's available, publicly available information that shows their crime,
I
their crime
know,
data.
it's generic
And
John
so we would
Mulaney.
go to there and collect that data for that time period from those jurisdictions.
And do you know what percent that hadn't initially reported then reported using
Chores do
in response to those
yourselves.
inquiries?
What percentage we use, the manual percentage?
Or yeah, or what, I mean, how much was still missing, I guess is what I'm asking.
So we collected an additional approximately 14%. So that got
He
us
said
up to about
78%. I mean,
78
I'm
to
listening. I don't know about
79%
you.
Of data that we had collected from the law enforcement
And
agency.
did you contact everyone of all the missing jurisdictions, or how did you go about deciding who to manually collect?
We
Motherfucking
definitely wanted to make
magnets.
sure that
How
we
do
hit
they
the most
work?
population cities. And so, as I mentioned before, the cities like Phoenix, Chicago, I mean, not Chicago, Phoenix, New York, I think Chicago was one of them. So we went to the most in population cities to gather that data.
And so when you did that, did they all say, oh, sorry, we forgot, here's the data, or did some still not provide it? How did that
Because
No, we didn't have any issues
racists
collecting
get
that data. It was
things,
manual-
Jim.
it was
That's
manually
why.
sourced and it was publicly
Racists in this country
Manually
sometimes
sourced
get
and publicly-
rewarded.
So what does that mean?
That just means
Which
we
is
went out and
fucking
got it.
ridiculous,
We didn't
but
ingest
here
it
we
into the
are.
system. We went out and physically got it manually, or went out and got it from the agencies, and then it was publicly
So
available.
the agencies had already published the data, they just hadn't bothered to send it to the FBI?
The issue with 2021 was that it was a NIBRS-only collection, so those cities were the ones that were still using the old
Yeah.
SRS process.
There's actually
and had not
answers to all
transitioned
these
to NIBRS.
questions.
It kind of seems to me like there's a lot of
Really, Mr.
opportunities
Kiley?
for statistical bias to
Really
creep in
seems to
here
me
based
that
on
you
who
don't know what
decided
the
to
fuck
ask
you're
for,
talking
based
about.
on who
And
decided
data
to hand it
collectors
over.
take their
And
jobs
then not
very
only
seriously. This is
is that
offensive.
manually collected data then going into the number, but it's being used as the basis to extrapolate the numbers for other jurisdictions.
No, it's
So
not.
why, and you had never done this before, so
Oh my
have the
God.
statisticians assured you this was statistically sound? Do you understand why we have questions?
You know,
That is
I
correct.
understand
we
it.
have some tremendous professional data scientists.
I understand
and
it. That's
statisticians that
right.
work in
It's
the
data
UCR program
science.
that do phenomenal work.
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, I would absolutely
Those
say
people
that
are
this got us to a
experts.
statistically significant level of response to be able to show that crime trend.
Because it
Again,
seems kind of odd that you had the automatic, update that actually shows crime went up, but then when you manually
No, it
corrected it,
didn't.
went down. But actually, some
No,
of the missing
it didn't. You're
jurisdictions were LA,
misreading
San
it,
Francisco,
Mr.
those very high
Kiley. With
crime
all due
areas.
respect, you don't
why
know
do you
how
think
to
there was that
read
kind of change in
data.
the directionality of the crime rate?
Oh my God.
I'm not sure that I understand your question, but just
Yeah,
to
because the premise
reiterate,
is wrong.
what is being shown now, what you can see now in this system, it does not contain that
No! Oh my
manually
God.
sourced data,
Becky!
which is the reason why it appears they're too low, because the jurisdictions that did not provide NIBRS data is not included in that data set right now.
So when President Joe Biden came out and said there was a record decline in crime, do you
Oh
think
my
that
God.
was correct?
I would have to go back and take a look at the crime
What did he
trends from
say?
the previous several years as to
What
whether
did
or
he
not,
say?
that our report was reporting historically low crimes. I'm not certain about that. I'd have to go back and look at the report.
And at the very least,
in the data, Kylie.
Reported crimes, right? So it wouldn't account for in areas like, well, throughout my state of California, where a lot of crime is unreported. That wouldn't be baked into your report.
Are you
Yes, sir, that's correct.
fucking kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me? These guys are grasping at straws. They blew it. They misread the data. They misread the data.
And expect to have
They bought their, they drank their own Kool-Aid, and now they have a big tummy ache.
Today is that
that's what just happened here, folks.
Heralded by the Biden administration as a drop in violent crime nationwide, and of course, when you revise it turned out to be not so true.
That's
but
not true.
It was only because
no, Mr. Fry, you are incorrect. You cannot make fetch happen. You cannot make fetch happen.
The methodology. I wanted to drill down.
You guys fucked up. You guys are looking like stupid asses who don't know how to read reports.
On a particular jurisdiction.
You're stupid asses.
You look at either publicly sourced information or reporting. Is that right?
What?
Are you referring to the 2021 data?
Or any set of data?
No, he wants to. No, you have to be specific because you dragged my ass here to talk about specific data sets.
About violent
so
crime in that jurisdiction.
Be specific, Mr. Freiberg. Fryhead.
We do not use publicly sourced, manually sourced data during the typical crime in the nation reporting. We use what is reported to us from the law enforcement agencies.
Okay. And when you and when you are compiling the statistics about it, not just the raw data, you look at the population of the jurisdiction too?
We do, correct.
Okay, so if there's one violent crime and there's 1,000 people that live in that jurisdiction, how is that rectified in your report?
I would have to go back and take a look at the report, and I apologize again, not a statistician, but I can tell you that the report does show the offense compared to the number of people within that population.
Okay. So hypothetically, I'm going to give you a hypothetical, just because I want to understand how this
because we're talking about data, I'd like to give you a hypothetical. Because the data, frankly, it's just not working for me.
Music festival, and there's crimes that are committed at that music festival. It would be logged in as a crime in that jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Despite the fact that it was maybe, and again, I'm total hypothetical, there's no town to this, but if it's 1,000 people, say they have 20,000 people for a music concert once a year, if there were crimes that were committed in that jurisdiction, that would be reported.
That's correct.
But that necessarily wouldn't be accurate, correct? I mean, that's not the town violent crime.
How many music festivals
overall? It's just
and the
this
crimes
one isolated
two related,
sir.
Did you count?
That's a great point. And I think we try to take a look for if we notice any anomalies based on previous years' reporting. As an example of that would be 9/11. We wouldn't have reported the almost 3,000 individuals who were, it was basically a homicide in the city of New York.
Right.
We would have separated those from the crime reporting to make sure that we didn't unnecessarily skew numbers based on anomalies such as that. Those are rare, but on occasion I will say yes, we have seen some anomalies in the past based on that.
They do tend to stand out in the data though when things like that pop up.
Me,
so you know,
does this data count in any which way for events such as that, or maybe even transient populations?
To the best that we're able
For example,
to do so,
most years there's no gun arrests in Coachella parking lots.
The collection, or we say April 1st is our deadline, is because we want to have that entire time
or
what
am I thinking? What am I thinking? Insurrections.
To work with those jurisdictions and those agencies to make sure if there's anomalies that we can have those conversations. But again, those are generally pretty rare.
How do you account for jurisdictions, tourism jurisdictions?
If you have 3 Coachellas and then subtract one Fire Fest, would the Woodstock equal the Lollapalooza? I don't know. Day on the Green.
But in the summertime, you're swelling to 100,000 a week.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think that goes back to the work that we do collaborating with those local law enforcement agencies and the state agencies to make sure that we're trying to get it right as we can.
Well, I would hope that in the future that happens, because that does actually happen.
I think we've reached hysteria stage. It's it, folks. We've gone over the edge.
Seem very disproportionate to the rest of the country.
The absurdity has taken over reason.
30,000 people, full-time residents, but you swell them to a half a million on any given week.
Gosh darn, insurrection is spiking crime in D.C. Jesus.
It doesn't tell the full truth, does it?
Oh, my God.
I would say
no,
that
actually
there would
it
probably
does.
Be some anomalies in there, yes.
Okay.
Anomalies
Well, I would
are
hope that,
part of the
in future
truth.
that the FBI would look at that.
Can you just tell me that? Okay, like, can we just
a
agree that
critique
anomalies are actually part of the
how these
truth?
things are computed, because
And
I
that's
don't
why
think
you
that it tells the
explain
full
them. Oh
story
my
when you're
fucking,
looking at
I'm sorry. I can't.
jurisdictions that have
The stupid is
seasonal
so deep.
destination populations. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I yield back
Chairman
my
yields.
pathetic
I now recognize
time.
myself for 5 minutes.
And no one will
So,
ever get it back. And here's another 5 minutes you're about
NIBR's
to
estimation
lose.
methodology approximates what the expected value would be for missing data. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And the FBI concedes that the estimates themselves are subject to levels of uncertainty caused by incomplete NIBR's reporting.
Gosh, welcome to data
You've mentioned
collection. Fuck
anomalies
my
here.
life.
And so if an agency only reports partial data to the FBI, the methodology will, quote, identify an agency that matches an agency characteristics and has the closest number of total incidents among the agencies with matching characteristics, close quote. So essentially, you're forcing a regression to the mean, right?
So in the event that, well, I would say first what we would try to do is to work through the local law enforcement.
Which staff member gave him that phrase to say?
But you're regressing to the mean. That's just the
Which
way that you're
staff member
estimating,
gave
you
him
are
that
regressing
phrase?
To the mean. That's what a statistician would tell you. You're trying to regress to the mean, which means that you're boxing out the anomalies that you just talked about, which means that if you have a jurisdiction that has a no arrest policy and literally does not make an arrest, or they make an arrest, hold them in jail overnight, and discharge the person without further prosecution, you have anomalies. Is that not true?
What?
I'm not sure how the local
No.
jurisdiction will report that, but yes, sir, that
Yeah, it's up to how they report it.
So the reason I mention that is because
Oh my God.
originally when you guys did this and you didn't get the reporting from LA, for instance, and LA was having massive amounts of people
No, they
come
weren't.
in and they raised the
I
the
lived
amount
in
of money you could
Hollywood
actually steal from
in downtown
a
LA since
store
2020.
before they would actually
Fuck
even
you,
arrest
Andy. It's not true.
or
I live in
investigate.
some not the safest
Those
parts
are
of
anomalies
LA,
because
and
those
I
are crimes.
am fine.
But they're not prosecuted and they're not charged, right?
What? Are you
So,
now
it
doing?
would
Are
be
you
hard
talking
for me
about Gascon?
It would be hard for me to answer a hypothetical on that,
God.
but what I
It's
would,
not a hypothetical. We all saw it on the news.
Yeah.
I
Which
know, Mr.
jurisdictions
Ferguson,
have a no
you saw it
arrest
on the news
policy?
just like
Because
I
I'm
did.
going there.
I know in my own state, we have a city of about 500,000 people that says, look, you know, unless it's a shoplift
hallucinating
over
in public.
$2,500, we're not coming. But that's a crime.
It sure
Right?
does, Jim Nalgren. It sure does.
It then becomes an unreported crime. So what I'm trying to get
Oh
at
my
here
fucking
is
God. Is all the
data
unreported
that
crime.
you are putting together, because it is voluntary, and because it remains open to the providers of the information, not you guys, because you're taking whatever information you have, and you're
So why didn't
making
you
a
call the
static
reporters here?
determination. Okay, they reported this.
Why don't
this
you
is
get a
what's in there.
haircut,
Or they
okay?
didn't report it, and
The
we're going to do one
weasel-
or two things.
Weasel
We're gonna go
Biggs
on
is
the
looking a
internet
little-
and see if they
little
put something publicly like
scruffy.
Phoenix does. Phoenix puts its crime data publicly.
What are you
And you guys
talking
gotta
about?
take that and incorporate that into
Oh my God.
your.
That's
I
not
can't remember
his
what you called it,
deal.
like
The cities do that.
Hand sorting, or where you guys go out, right? That's a fair
Oh my
statement, right?
God.
that was the only one time that we did that was in 2020.
So you've never done that since then.
That's correct.
They haven't had
So if they
to.
don't actually respond, and now you just.
We will do one of two things. We will work with the law enforcement
Oh
agency.
my
reach out
God,
to
the
law
stupid,
enforcement
they're
agency
really
to
trying to
attempt
force
get
that
information
square
if there's
peg into
missing
the
data,
round hole.
Or we'll apply the traditional NIBR's estimation.
Which is where you're saying, well, you know, Phoenix is a little bit bigger than Houston,
Stop
maybe.
it. Stop
and
it.
Houston's numbers are this, similarly situated.
No,
They both
that's
have
not how
high,
it that's not
illegal,
how it works.
Migrant
Oh my
populations
God.
rolling through them. So we're going to say that
This
maybe
is not how it
Phoenix would
works.
have roughly the same
This
amount.
is not
that
how
fair?
it works.
That sounds to be like a fair. Sounds.
No, it
Right.
isn't.
So this is the problem that I think.
Oh
that
my God.
We may be having on our
Ferguson is the
side.
data guy trying to be the
Is
straight data guy.
That doesn't sound like something I would rely on.
Oh my fucking.
Because
Good job, Ferguson.
Phoenix
Good job.
is very different than Houston.
Did anybody teach you how to actually
Phoenix
position your work
Like Houston, literally
against attacks
thousands
like
of drop
this
houses for illegal aliens coming
that are Fruit Loops?
thousands. And they commit crimes.
Good job, Ferguson. You
they're
did
not
this.
reported
You
necessarily.
don't know how to fucking handle the heat
That vacuum
of a sham
leaves a
hearing.
hole in the statistical data.
I'm sorry, you get paid
or the
enough that you
statistical
should
data set
know
that
how
you
to
guys are
fucking
relying on
handle
a data
these
set that's
douche
reported to you. I
whistles.
get that. But what happens is it
That was
may
it.
not
That
be
was the
accurate
strategic
and
loss
accurately
moment
reflecting
right there.
that municipality, that jurisdiction's crime rate.
So I think I probably should do a little bit of clarification there to your point. I completely understand the angst with regard to these numbers. They're not perfect. They probably never will be, but I will say I would like to highlight the fact that we did have 94% of the population covered this year. But I would say that...
Yeah, but you had 94% of the population self-reporting. And as Disraeli said,
That's how reporting works.
there are 3 kinds of lies. There's lies,
That's
damn
how
lies, and
reporting
statistics.
works for everything.
And if you were
like everything, like you guys,
I can self-report that I'm 6'4", weigh 180 pounds,
No.
and I'm chiseled stone.
Shithead,
But that's
it's
garbage
not how
in.
it works.
And when you put garbage in, you get garbage out. That's the issue that I think that we're having here. Not to say that you guys are committing garbage.
Oh my God, I hate being
But
right.
you got information that you're reliant on people who are incentivized, quite frankly, to skew the data they're providing to you and to the public. And we have found that out.
Does he understand that also people and organizations go through audits and things like they have boards, and I have a board of directors who would question me on my data reporting every fucking month.
Thank you for being here today.
Okay? And multiple times a month because there were different committees. And I would have to back up my data.
That we have been seeing over the last
That's how
few
data
years.
works.
I was reviewing
and it's not perfect.
The website of
But the perfect is
Bureau
not the
and
enemy
Crime
of the
Data
good.
Explorer. And it specifically references 2023
Oh, I have a real thing about monitoring and
suggests that in
evaluation. Like it's a
all
whole,
categories
it's an
except for
actual
one,
world.
that in
Okay, it's an
categories
actual
of
world.
murder,
It's a
rape,
discipline.
burglary,
They have,
and other
things
theories
that and
violent crime
models
is down,
and math
really,
and all
in
kinds of
all
things.
respects
I am
except for
so
motor vehicle theft.
I
But what I was
dearly
interested in
love
discussing
data
today was a
collectors
little bit
because
of a
they do the
broader
unglamorous work
timeline.
that is
Specifically
very
going
difficult to
back
do.
to look at the time
And it's so
period
important
of
to get that data
2020 to the present.
because it's information
And
that is
it's
power.
correct,
That's all
is
it
it
is.
not,
It's
that
not the be all
the
end all,
rate
but it's very
of
critical to understanding what
many
the real
of these
picture
violent
is. And then you
crimes,
can't just
if
make up the
examined
picture
from
in your head
2020
of
to
how it's
present,
going.
is actually going up.
I apologize. I don't have the report here in front of me, and so I don't want to testify to the fact that I haven't seen it, or I don't have it in front of me here, and I can testify to that. But we do provide those rates for that time period for that report. That's correct.
Okay. And so it wouldn't be something that you were prepared to testify about here today if I were to tell you that over that span of time, the incidents of rape have actually gone up. Is that right?
I think that there was a time period within the definition of rape that might have changed within the UCR program. And I'd have to go back and I can certainly get you an answer on that.
And that makes a difference, right? When you're
I'm not sure if some of
transitioning
those were double
terminology
counted by the
or data
agencies based on the
capture,
definition of rape,
that makes
but
it,
can
that
certainly
makes
get
a
that
fucking
information for you.
difference.
Well,
Oh,
and
bye,
that actually
Iggy. Love
touches
you
on
so
another
much.
question that I wanted to ask you. In these materials there that are providing for the public information about the increase or decreases in crimes, I see that there is a rape referred to as revised definition and rape legacy definition. Are you familiar with the distinction between the revised definition and the legacy definition?
I am familiar that there was a change in the rape definition. I would have to go back and take a look
Yeah,
at
he doesn't know exactly what that is. That's a,
But when
yeah.
when the
He's
when
the
change
data
came
collector.
about, it was publicized to all of our law enforcement agencies.
He's not
so that whenever
making
it was captured in the
policy.
statistics that it would capture accurately.
Now, and it's also true, is it not, that in compiling these statistics and preparing these reports and sharing with the public, you rely on accurate reporting from state and local law enforcement agencies about incidences of these types of crimes in their areas?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you were not getting full and complete information from state and local law enforcement agencies, then it would be impossible for you to accurately prepare a compilation number of violent crime trends across the United States of America.
If they did not report that, that would be correct. We would not be able to provide that national trend for accuracy.
So tell us what you are doing to ensure. Do you have any sort of audit, any sort of review, any sort of verification
Lee,
process.
hell to the yeah.
develop
There's also a
comfort
level of
level for yourself
materiality
that
to
you're
consider in
getting
data
full and
collection.
complete
Hell yeah.
information from municipalities and states to prepare this data.
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So we are obviously relying on the municipalities to provide that information to us. What I can say is a couple of things. One is that we use technology to see if there's any anomalies. If something is significantly off, that it'll alert one of the statisticians to take a look at that, to contact that local jurisdiction to say, hey, either your numbers for hate crime look like they're way up, they look like they're way down. You didn't report anything in June, July, and August. Is this right? Do we want to work through that process? In addition to that, when we also have a quality assurance
data
program
collectors
within
are
our
actually really
statisticians,
thoughtful people.
Relying on the data that we receive from our law enforcement partners. So we do the QA internally. In addition to that, we have a 2-week time period where we notify the law enforcement agencies that this is the numbers that we have for you. Please go in and QA and verify
To verify that it's right. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. I yield the balance of my time to the chairman.
And I yield that time, if possible, to Chairman Jordan.
Mr. Chairman, so I'm going to go back to this manual collection. Did the manual collection that you talked about a lot, did that
they
change
Democrats?
the violent crime statistics? That changed the number you had?
That would have changed the numbers because it would obviously added an additional 18% of the population.
Did it change it? How did it change it? Did it make the violent crime numbers go down or go up?
It would have made the violent crime numbers go down because what you're seeing in the report now, if you looked at the report, which is where the issue comes in with the 4.5% increase, if we didn't use that manual entered data that we went out and got from those law enforcement agencies, then you would see that percentage increase. So because we went out and manually sourced that crime data.
And do you always go out and do any this manual collection? Does that happen every single year?
No, sir. That's the only time we've ever done that.
So the only time you ever have done it resulted in what was reported as violent crime going up. Actually, you reported it then as violent crime going down.
What the numbers that we had,
What
the data
the
set that we had,
numbers
it
did,
reported that
sweetie.
violent crime was going
Okay.
down.
And you've never done that before?
No, sir.
Oh my God.
I find that interesting.
Then why don't you ask the jurisdictions that didn't report why they didn't report on
We're going to go
time?
do something we've never done before, and as a result of that, violent crime went down. Shazam! We can report that.
No.
And that gets used in a political context.
Oh, did
during the
it? Did
debate
it
and everything
work,
else.
Jim? Tell me, did it
Find that
work?
interesting?
Tell me. No.
What I will
That's
say
a
is that
feeling.
we-
Don't
Our desire in
take
the
the
CJIS
fucking
division is
bait,
to get it
Ferguson.
right and get the information out there to the public for whatever use they need.
Mm-hmm.
And our desire to try to make sure that we had a statistically significant number to create those trends. Unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished, and we're trying to do the
In
right
years prior, when you didn't go do the manual, what was the reporting percent coming in? Was it much higher, or was it relatively the same as it was in this particular year?
I would have to go back and look at it. I would say it's relatively the same when we had because we had 78% of the population covered. I believe it's 78% of the population covered with the 2021 data set. I would say relatively the same.
So if
but
it was the same, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it this
No,
particular
the
for this
same
particular
after
year
doing
when you
it.
reported 4 weeks before the election?
I'm sorry, let me clarify. Had we not manually sourced that data to get up to 78% of the population covered, we would have only had 65% or less of the population covered. And when we looked at that, we said, we want to make sure that we're providing the most information that we can. And we recognize these agencies did not submit data. So we want to go out and get this
What's the lowest number you've ever went with before in other years?
Okay, Puppy is ready for his
close to the 60-some%?
I
excursion. I'll
apologize, I do not know
BRB.
the answer to that question, but I would say 65% in my estimation is not statistically significant.
I appreciate
There
this,
you
Chairman.
go.
I just think it's interesting. The 1 year.
Yeah, I
if they
know.
go
The
do
1
something
year,
that they've
blah, blah,
never done
blah,
before happens to
bric-a-brac.
be
Well, if wishes were
a year that's
horses,
gonna get reported 4
beggars
weeks
would ride
before an
balls.
election, and it changes the outcome. That's sort of the whole point. I yield back.
It
Thanks, Mr.
didn't.
Chairman.
Oh
Chair
my
now recognizes
fucking
the gentleman from
God.
Georgia, Mr. Johnson, for his
You
5 minutes.
misread the data, you stupid
Chairman.
moron.
Acting Assistant Director Tim Ferguson, thank you for coming to talk to us today. You lead a large and important workforce of more than 3,000 employees and contractors, and you have a distinguished career in which you served in various capacities with the FBI for more than 22 years, including Chief of the Digital Forensics and Analytics Section and Chief of the Field Operations Section. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
We should be commending you for all of the work that your division does to keep Americans safe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including managing the FBI's tip lines, conducting background checks for firearm purchases, and maintaining robust databases for information sharing. Instead, regrettably, MAGA Republicans called you here to drag you through the mud over a conspiracy theory because manually input data was pulled into one data table but not another. They are ignoring the bottom line that your most complete data set shows that reported crime decreased from 2021 to 2022. And this is why I want to spend the rest of my time talking about the excellent work that your division does and how your division helped bring crime levels down. Acting Assistant Director Ferguson, can you discuss any recent initiatives or projects undertaken by the Criminal Justice Information Services Division that has had a significant impact on the law enforcement community?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for that question. Beginning of February of this year, in an effort to continue the increase in information sharing from the CJIS Division and the tips that we receive to our law enforcement partners, we began a new initiative where we are sharing tips that we receive directly with state and local law enforcement agencies. This is something that's new and innovative within the CJIS Division, and it's actually thanks to the work that the NICS section did with regard to zip code mapping for the implementation of the NICS Denial Notification Act. We were able to use that and with our National Threat Operations section and use that zip code mapping to be able to send tips directly to state and local partners. So we don't have to rely on sending it to the field office and the field office sending it to the local law enforcement partners. We can send it directly to our law enforcement partners.
That's great. The National Crime Information Center is a vital crime data system available to law enforcement agencies at all hours of the day and night, and it contains over 18.4 million records. Assistant Director Ferguson, how does the NCIC support information sharing and communication between law enforcement agencies at the national level?
What a phenomenal system that is, the National Crime Information Center, and the work that the CJIS Division staff does on implementing the processes within NCIC, updating NCIC. It contains 22 separate files, and we have over 10 million hits per day. In other words, 10 million inquiries per day from law enforcement. And it is absolutely a lifeline, especially when it comes to officer safety, because within NCIC is the wants and warrants file. So if an individual is pulled over or is encountered by law enforcement and that person has a warrant or has violent tendencies, that officer is made aware of that and makes those officers safe. Right now, we're probably going to hit one of our historic highs for the number of officers that have been killed in the line of duty this year. And NCIC saves lives of those officers on the street.
Thank you. Reducing gun violence is very important. Just yesterday, another community was shaken by gun violence when a student killed 2 people and injured 6 others at her Wisconsin school. In Philadelphia last weekend, dozens of people were shot and 4 died. We combat this scourge in part by conducting thorough background checks before allowing people to purchase firearms. Acting Assistant Director Ferguson, how does the NCIS collaborate with federal, state, and local agencies to ensure the completeness and accuracy of firearm background check information? And how has the NCIS evolved over time to enhance the efficiency and accuracy of background checks?
That's a great question, and I don't think I have time to answer it completely, but what I will say is that the NICS section, I'm appreciative to the legislative body here for the support that they provided to the NICS section for the resources that we have. As a result of that, we are able to automate quite a bit of the services that we provide. As I mentioned before, we have a 90% immediate determination rate for the last 35 months, 90+% for the last 35 months to be able to make that determination within the first 15 to 30 minutes of a person being at the gun counter, being able to provide that service, that value to the community. Again, the automation methods that we're working through. We just have an amazing team of folks over in NICS that are committed to protecting the Second Amendment and protecting the American people.
Gentleman's time has expired. Thank you. I have an article I want to admit to the record by unanimous consent. Stealth edit, FBI quietly revises violent crime stats, dated October 16, 2024. Without objection, so ordered. And that concludes today's hearing. Thank you, Assistant Director Ferguson. Are you Assistant Director? Or Acting Director. Yeah.
Acting Assistant Director, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here today, Mr. Ferguson. And with that, we're going to adjourn.
I'm here. I literally just sat down. Woo! Hold on, I'll put my camera on. What, they're taking a break? They got to poop? Is it a poop break? Everybody's got to poop? Everybody's got to poop right now. Everybody's got to poop right now. Was it done? Is it done? Is it like over? I'm okay with that. Oh, fuck yeah. That's actually a blessing in disguise, folks. All right, let me rejig here. Let's see. There we go. Let's put the cat cam. We could put that right there. Although the sunset's kind of nice. That's okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that was frustrating. Well, there you go. That was frustrating. You might find the methodology section particularly interesting. We are glad of your interest, sir, and invite you. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Oomph. That's right. We invite you to get involved in the contents of the report and kind of our M&E program. Please do come to our data science. Oh, you did? Okay, hold on. Let me see what else. I have a lot of things, so I'm just gonna line some stuff up so we can, because I don't want to miss some of the things that I have here. Oh yeah, did this happen? Oh wait, what's this all about? Is this happening? No, it hasn't. Okay. Oh, okay. There was a House hearing on legalized like online gambling, which I thought was really interesting. Let's see. What is today? What is today? Oh, it's the 17th. It's 17th. Okay. I'm just making sure we're not missing something really crazy. Let me just quickly scan. Oh, I also I wanted to play this. Hold on. We got a lot. There's a lot of news in the world. Yeah, there's a lot of news in the world. And it's all here for you. Yeah. Here at Lolo's Lounge. Loodly doo doo doo.
Breaking overnight.
Don't say it. Hold on, I want you to say it when people can see you. Is that it? No. Okay. This is just a minute. But the Russian general. There was a Russian general killed in Moscow by bomb blast. Guess what? Guess what he in charge of? Guess what? Guess what the brave Russian general was in charge of? Nuclear. That's right. Let's learn about Russian general blown to bits, if you will. In Moscow. Here we go. Strap in.
A Russian military official has been killed in an explosion in Moscow. Ukrainian security sources tell CBS News that they were behind this assassination. Officials in Russia say Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov and his assistant died after an explosive device on a scooter detonated near an apartment building. For more on this, we're joined by CBS News reporter Haley Ott. Haley, what can you tell us about what happened?
Good morning, Errol. Yes, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov was the head of Russia's nuclear and chemical defense forces. And investigators say he and his assistant were killed near the entrance of an apartment building in Moscow this morning by a bomb, which was hidden in an electric scooter. Russian state media says the bomb had the power of about 300 grams of TNT and was detonated by remote control. Now, Kirillov and the unit he headed were under sanctions by a number of countries, including the U.S. and the U.K., for the use of chemical weapons on the battlefield in Ukraine. And just yesterday, he was charged in absentia there. Ukraine security services saying it's recorded around 4,800 uses of chemical weapons by Russia since its full-scale invasion in February 2022. in particular from grenades, which are equipped with toxic substances and then dropped on Ukrainian troops from drones. Ukrainian security sources have told CBS News that Ukraine's SBU was behind the attack, killing Kirillov in a, quote, special operation and calling him a war criminal and a legitimate target. Russia has called the bombing a terrorist act. Errol?
All right, Haley Utt, thank you very much.
Okay, so little, whatchamacallit, little Russian general in charge of the big, big booms. Got big, big boomed. Hey, man, those scooters, watch those fucking scooters. Yeah, like a special military operation? Well, like a special assassination, yeah. But interesting that what he was in charge of, I have no idea if that was the meaningful part of his assassination or if it was just his war criminal activities in general. Oh, Lee, I know. We got a little tiny sleepy kitty, so we'll see if he does anything interesting. But that's Gus. Organic polonium tea. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Well, the I guess the SBU or whatever it is from the Ukrainian sounds like CIA equivalent or something. Did what they set out to do. So, oh well, that's what happens in love and war, right? That's what they say. I think it's what the kids say nowadays. I mean, really. And then we had the thing I had on earlier, which was that Trump sued the woman pollster who from Des Moines Register, the Des Moines Register over the pollster who kind of gave that Iowa number, right? Remember that? Remember that? This man is this Mussolini we've elected. Hi, Carrie. Oh my gosh, it's good to see you, sweetie. This little, kind of like Walmart Stalin. Yes, this is the link from Gal. I just can't find a great place for the cat cam. Hold on, everybody. There we go. Maybe we'll just leave it there. Okay, we're not doing the hearing anymore. We can take that little label away. All right. Yeah, Trump sues the Des Moines Register and the top pollster over the final Iowa survey. He's so fragile. I mean, we really, you guys really chose a snowflake with an anus mouth to go for. Wow. I'm sorry you didn't have a lot of choices of strongmen, and that's what you ended up with. But, but here we go. President-elect Trump is escalating his legal campaign against media outlets by suing renowned pollster J.N. Seltzer, her polling firm, the Des Moines Register newspaper, and its company, Gannett. Unlike many of Trump's legal actions against the press, which often allege defamation, this case alleges violations of the Iowa Consumer Fraud Act. Ooh, have fun, Lee. Oh my gosh, I want to get my nails done. Which prohibits deception when advertising or selling merchandise. No worries, Carrie. No worries. You're a sight for sore eyes, girl. While the non-traditional claims are unlikely to succeed in court, Trump is using the lawsuit to wage a broadside against what he perceives as left-wing media, mainstream press coverage of elections, and the role of pollsters during campaigns. Though he won the 2024 election, Trump alleges the news coverage of Seltzer's poll, published days before the election showing Kamala Harris with a surprising lead in Iowa that didn't materialize in the vote, was intended to artificially help Democrats during the campaign. Somebody needs to stop this. This monster, this goo, this basic slime that we have elected. Media experts warned the lawsuit could have a further chilling effect, not just on news reporting, but also on political polling. Seltzer didn't immediately respond. The case comes on the heels of Trump winning a $16 million payout from ABC News, who capitulated in a defamation case.
With more. They were given more money and produced less.
Oh, shit.
A
Hold on.
20-year-old criminal outsmarted them on a $40 drone technology piece of device.
Okay, this was the other, what was this? Oh, this is 2 months old. It just auto-played. Sorry about that. Let me just stop this. Okay. Stop. All right. Sorry. Sorry for that little break. Here we go. Okay. Ow. Ow, I just hit my knee. Okay. Yes, from Trump and his allies also continue to rail against news outlets, threaten them, and pursue other court cases against large outlets and a book publisher. And the interesting thing is that law is law, and people decide to settle things instead of dragging things out into court. But these are the moments that the media really has an opportunity to step up for humanity, not for anything small, but for the actual humanity of the situation. If I recall, and we can look if we really care too much about it, but if I recall, this is all based on someone reporting about I can't even remember what it was. It was something like, I can't even remember what it was. But it certainly wasn't something that seemed to me to be defaming in a way that, had anything to do with what is normal reporting, right? Because if you want to talk about defamation, I just invite you to look at the Rumble homepage. If you want to talk defamation, I would really like for you to look at the Rumble homepage and what some of the headlines and clickbait is, because it involves bodily harm to people like Nancy Pelosi. It involves slamming Kamala Harris as someone who drinks too much. So we're not watching. Well, no, we're not going to watch Rumble. No, I won't do that to people. They will keep trying to reverse Sullivan. I can't remember what that is. What is that, Max? I'm just, my mind is blanking. No, we were reading your piece that you had shared, Gal, about the suit, the frivolous lawsuits, that I really can't believe that they would allow a sitting president to sue a private citizen. That actually seems like that's not, I don't feel like is that legal? Is that legal? I mean, not legal, but you know what I mean? Like, can't there be rules against something like that? Isn't that like exercising kind of outsized influence? Somehow I turned on a flashing light. Sullivan versus New York Times. Right. Thank you. Oh, so public figure libel case. Yeah. So I just, I understand, that's why they want to be able to sue social media companies, right? If they can't, which they've already compromised all the social media companies. So I don't exactly understand why they may not be concerned about Section 230 anymore, because now they own the social media. So, I wish that was funny. Yeah, that was because Seltzer previous polls were so accurate. Is that true? I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't really pay attention to polls, but I do recall the story where she came out and said, hey, Kamala's doing better in Iowa than we thought, or something like that. So, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me. Doesn't really make sense to me. But what do I know? Okay, so we're gonna start going through some bookmarkies. Under Sullivan, public figure must prove actual malice. That makes sense, doesn't it? Interesting. All right, let me get this teed up, and then we're gonna do this thing, and it's gonna be so exciting. All right, I just want to, again, at the beginning of every show, I guess, really want to make sure I shout out all the people, Gal, Teresa, Carla, Oren, everybody who shares links with me during the show, before the show. I am so grateful. I just want you to know, I really, really appreciate everything. And I won't always remember when I bookmark things who shared it. So I really apologize if I never call out your contributions. Please remind me in a DM, and I will deeply appreciate it because I want to make sure credit is given where credit is due. This is definitely a collective. All right. So this one, The Guardian was reporting, this was yesterday, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, December 16th. Would think consumer protection law would want the plaintiff to demonstrate that the material falsehood induced a purchase. Expect it laughed out of court. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, they won't step up. There's been so many opportunities for them to do the job of reporting. Don't hold your breath. You're right. You're absolutely right, butterflies. It's just a matter of creating a record. Someone in my Blue Sky replies made that comment, like, it's important that we collectively create the record of history, right? Where it's, you know, whether it's my show or whether it's, whatever. All the ways that we share information out is helping create the historical record. And I think that's important. So I kind of like that framing, actually. Hold on, I got to turn this light off. It's bothering me. Why are you doing that? There we go. It's because I stepped on it. Witness, record, survive. Yeah. Oh, it makes it sound so romantic. Anyway. Sorry. Okay, so let's read about this douche whistle. Speaking of douche whistles, were we? Maybe. Oops, let me move the cat cam label that is blocking the said cat. Well, that's kind of embarrassing. Well, that's embarrassing. Where is that label? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Mise en place. Mise en place, bitches. Mise en place. Let's see. Here we go. Elon Musk will not receive the highest level government security clearance from reports. So isn't that interesting? I guess we're going to start hearing about the actual FBI background checks that they recently agreed to, the transition team, right? Recently, Trump, I guess, signed the whatever paperwork he needed in order for the FBI to do background checks on his nominees for different positions. So I imagine that's what we're starting to hear is the results of those background checks. I mean, that's just my, I'm looking at the tea leaves kind of thing and putting things together, like a little puzzle in my head. Okay. Anyway, the SpaceX head has been advised to not seek the same over his drug use and contacts with foreign nationals. Get out of town. Get out of town. That guy, this guy, that one, this one, this guy right here. You gotta be kidding me, boss. Everybody loves him. He has a penis rocket. Come on now. All right. The space entrepreneur, Elon Musk, is unlikely to receive government security clearances if he so applied, even as his SpaceX launch company blasts military and spy agency payloads into orbit, according to a report on Monday. The billionaire, almost trillionaire, a close ally of Donald Trump, who is set to join the incoming administration as an efficiency expert and recently became the first person to exceed $400 billion in self-made, well, that's doing some heavy lifting, isn't it? My. Personal wealth is reported by Wall Street Journal to have been advised by SpaceX lawyers not to seek highest level security clearances owing to personal drug use and contacts with foreign nationals. Oh, well, maybe it's not the FBI reports that are being leaked. Okay. Elon Musk. Palmer Eldritch. Who's Palmer Eldritch? That name sounds familiar. Yeah, is it from a movie or a book? Musk currently holds a, quote, top secret clearance that took years to obtain after he discussed use of marijuana on a 2018 podcast with Joe Rogan, according to the outlet. But that may not be enough to have access to information about U.S. government payloads in his rockets. Oh, Philip K. Dick. Okay. About space entrepreneur. Cool. But that may not be, okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh, typically, candidates undergoing federal security screenings by the Department of Defense may not receive clearance if the agency expresses concerns about drug or alcohol use. What about ketamine? You have a K test? Criminal conduct, psychological conditions. Okay, criminal conduct, check. Psychological conditions, check. Sexual behavior, check. Or allegiance to the U.S., check. Well, that's a no from me, dog. Is he the space billionaire in Contact? I want to see that movie. I don't think I ever really watched that movie. But anyway, according to the Journal, Musk's lawyers outlined scenarios in which he might inadvertently disclose secrets to foreign officials with whom he regularly speaks, including the Russian President Vladimir Putin, with whom he is reported to have been in regular contact since 2022. Okay, what are we doing? Because you're going to end up pulling this camera off. All right. You want to come up? Okay, come on. Come on. There we go. All right. We've got a snuggle cat. We've got one snuggle cat on the lap and another cat on the bed. Been obscurely pushing Palmer Eldritch interpretation of Elmo's scum for some time now on social media. There you go. Well, share with the class. Did you see that Manchin was also at the game? I am not shocked by anything that other sack of shit does. The Wall Street Journal reported recently on Elon Musk's alleged fondness for LSD, cocaine, mushrooms, and ketamine. Oh. Oomph is the 3 stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. Oh. I mean, the name sounds familiar. I feel like either you've referenced that before or I've heard it. It's interesting. The Noosphere. I want to be queen of the Noosphere. I'll be like the Pied Piper and lead the rats out of wherever it is, wherever they were. Okay. Musk's use of another semi-legal drug, ketamine, in pursuit of what friends call pure creativity, man. Along with the reports of LSD, ecstasy. You tell yourself those things a lot when you're taking those drugs. Oh, yeah, this is just pure creativity. Gotcha. And magic mushrooms. Well, okay. Could also be an issue. Yeah, and he's a dick. How about that? He's also a dick. Musk's lawyers told the Journal there had been false facts in a Wall Street Journal report about Musk's drug patterns, and he was regularly and randomly drug tested at SpaceX and has never failed a test. Is there any world in which the world's richest man could fake a pee test? Gosh, I don't know. SpaceX lawyers and executives reportedly concluded that if the company sought a higher level of clearance than Musk currently holds, he risked being turned down and potentially stripped of the clearances he currently holds. Will he ever be stripped of the contracts that he currently owns? I want to start talking about the contracts that these guys have with the government. I personally feel like I need to understand that better. Yes, Tesla board members asked him to go to rehab. I'm telling you. He's crazy. I mean, this world is crazy, but here we are. Those kind of drugs have short half-life and may not be detectable by urinalysis. Good point. But whatever, if he's drug tested, then, what is he? Is there a world where he could cheat on that? I don't know. World's richest guy or whatever. I don't know what he is now. Let's see. But the Journal noted that the issue could become irrelevant when Trump returns to the White House next month, which is a good point. Musk, do you remember the first Trump administration where it really didn't matter what security clearance anybody had? And oh, by the way, let me think. Did he take documents out of DC? Yeah. So I don't think documents or access or any of that has any meaning to this administration. Sorry. My board said my board said I had to go to rehab, and I said no. No. I can't remember the words. I love her. I love Amy Winehouse. Okay. SpaceX lawyers and executives, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Musk donated about $200 million to Trump's reelection effort and has been tapped to lead a government body. Is that what we're calling it now? That Trump says he will create. No, that's not really what he said, but okay. the Department of Government Efficiency that Musk says could strip $2 trillion from the federal budget. Yeah, he says that. A gold hand grenade? What the hell is that? As co-head of Doge with the biotech company founder Vivek Ramaswamy, the eagerest beaver in D.C., I like to call him, Musk could be given access to classified information directly by the sitting president. Yep. Trump has not said publicly if he plans to do that. Well, then he probably won't. I think we should take him at his word. What do you guys think? More than 400 SpaceX employees have permissions to access sensitive compartmented information, but not the company CEO, according to the outlet. A smaller number of employees have access to secrets the government deems even more sensitive, called special access programs, including SpaceX's spy satellite program called Starshield. Starshield. That was a movie. I thought that was just a movie. As it stands, Musk is not entitled to enter SpaceX facilities where such classified work is done and discussed. Oh, but he doesn't take the gang out for pizza? Really? He doesn't go for wings at the local Applebee's? Really? There's no 2-for-1 margaritas on a Friday night with a bunch of reports? Really? Yeah, okay, I'm buying that. The company recently signed a $1.8 billion classified contract with the National Reconnaissance Office, the agency that operates spy satellites, among other pre-existing government contracts. That's what I want to talk about. Musk, however, appears unfazed. Oh, no shit. He's high as fuck. Okay? He makes it work, Kathy, because he's corrupted the government contracting process, Kathy. That's how that works, though. At a Pennsylvania town hall in October where he revealed that he had top secret clearance, he told attendees in typical Musk fashion that, quote, most of the stuff that I'm aware of, the reason to keep it top secret is it's so boring. I fucking hate this guy. Vyvanse is the latest and greatest drug. Oh my God. One eye went on about being bored. Yeah. Good call out. See, this is the thing. We really did hit on something last night with One Eye in terms of just for my own, kind of interest in this game we play. But the boredom of individuals, I think, is a factor. And I think it stems from other things. It's not true boredom, right? It's not true boredom. It's different. And I'm not an expert, but I feel like it's a different kind of boredom, if that makes sense. I talked about it a little bit and just in my observations. So again, not claiming to be an expert, but I think that there has something to do with that. I don't know. It's a different kind of boredom. Oh my God. Okay. We don't want to give exact instructions on how to make a nuclear bomb or something like that. But unless there's a genuine risk to the country, all the information in the government should be public, he added. Well, that's the point. You're right, Oomph. Nobody serious is bored. No, to me, that's a parlor trick. Saying, acting bored and like you don't care and da-da-da and be-da-ba. That to me is just a manifestation of something going on inside your brain. Like not in a medical way, but just in a worldview kind of way. Right? Oh, the problems of poor people are so boring. Like that kind of thing. Anyway, I don't know. I could go on. Found a fun Kierkegaard quote on boredom, but it's long and kind of boring. Good one. All right, so there you go. That's little Elon. Elon the felon. When are we gonna? Okay, you know what I want, and I know this is probably stupid. It's probably stupid, but I don't care. I'm gonna say it anyway. I don't give a shit. I want to hear what Ghislaine Maxwell has to say. Okay? I want to hear what Ghislaine Maxwell has to say. I need the very special Oprah No, I need the very special George Stephanopoulos. Like, I need that information to be public. Right? I know that's not going to solve like the world problems. I get it. But I remember feeling when we started hearing about the Panama Papers and the Pandora Papers, that huge journalistic effort to document corruption amongst the world's top oligarchs and world leaders, et cetera, et cetera. Do you remember those papers? They were huge. It was like all this documented evidence of all this corruption. And I remember at the time feeling like, I'm surprised no one is taking this particular information and using it as the basis to really dig in and deep, about all of the shit that's going on in the world. And I can imagine what the effort was to make that happen, right? Like to downplay what it was. But boy, what a missed opportunity, because I think if at that point I would have really appreciated a massive kind of push on, let's explain what just happened here. Yeah, Biden could, but he's got till tomorrow, basically, because there's no Congress after tomorrow. So I don't think he's going to do anything. If there's not a turkey to be pardoned, I don't think, no, I'm just kidding. So anyway, I just think that, and I know that people did good journalistic work on covering the Pandora and the Panama, but I'm just saying in the kind of normie consciousness of the world, people don't really understand what happened in those papers. Like if I talk to my siblings about it, they would be aware of those reports, but they wouldn't know offhand what some of the data was out of it in terms of where some of the hot spots were for corruption in the world. You know what I mean? So I think that's when I say there could have been a more, kind of, what's that, mass paperback kind of version of that story. Well, the last hearings I have for the year are tomorrow. And then they don't come back until January 3rd when the new Congress is sworn in. Yeah. What it meant. Yeah. Oren, like, what does it mean? Because we, likely by design, I feel like the eye is off the ball when it comes to the oligarchs, right? Data interpretation for normies, or just make it something that is, I don't know. I just feel like in the old days, no, that's not true. But I mean, I think there have been moments where things have been explained so that collective consciousness can be like, oh, okay, I can grasp that. Like, tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to know. And I've really been on this kick when I'm reading these articles to say, well, but then what about this? Like there was that article yesterday where they talked about the German chancellor stepping down and the chaos that's going to come from that in the German, whatever. And there was nothing in that New York Times article that really talked about how did Germany get to that point where one of the stronger democracies becomes so fragile. And they could have talked about a number of sources. I would hope that they would talk about disinformation campaigns and what is known to be Russian activities in relation to German politics, right? To me, documenting those connections would be really important so that when we look back, if nothing else, when we look back, we can say, how did we really saw the evidence of intervention in democracy, not to the benefit of the greater good, right? For not greater good reasons. So I think that's where I think it's a missed opportunity, right? I don't know. I feel like I didn't really understand it at the time, and not that I should have, but I just feel like I need that kind of synthesis, Anyway. All right, that's my soapbox for the media for today. Let me get up. We've still got stuff. I'm not letting you go. Don't go. Don't go. Do the show. Bye. Love you, girl. Let's see. I went way down the rabbit hole with the SoftBank shit. Okay. I went way down the rabbit hole because, oh my God, I'm going to tell you, this is how it happens. This is how rabbit holes happen. And I won't spend a lot of time on it, but my rabbit hole was, and let me show you. I'll just show you my rabbit holes. Here you go. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my brain. So here's where I started. Oops, not there. I don't know what that is. Get out of here, duck. I started there, right? This was the announcement I'm sorry, the screen's not doing very well. In 2016, December 7th, 2016. This was that announcement, the same one they referenced yesterday when Trump was standing there with, oh shit, Masatoshi-san. I can't remember. Forgive me for not remembering his name. It'll come up. So SoftBank, So I have lots of questions. Like, what happened to the 50,000 jobs? Were they created within the Trump administration time frame? Where were they? Because then, as I started then to look at SoftBank, oh boy, this is so silly. I'm kind of embarrassed, actually. Then I started looking at things like the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint, because SoftBank owned Sprint, or was a part owner in Sprint at the time. And they mucked up the T-Mobile Sprint merger until then they wanted it to happen under Trump. Oren, oh yeah, nothing was built right. I've been, up for 3 hours without a cigarette. What? Trump filed lawsuit for seller. It's in your DM. Oh boy. So there's that. So then I started going down this. And then I started looking at, okay, well, who owns, what was it? Let me see. Because it was really crazy. What else? Or no, I won't go there yet. Let me see if this was the document. As you can see, I'm not a good OSINT researcher because this is this is the ridiculous. After then I went down to Bonterra. I don't even want to tell you how I ended up there, but it had to do with SoftBank. And what I wanted to find out was who's involved in SoftBank. And who then benefits from that. And it ended up well, anyway, I'll put together the thing. I'm sorry, but it just was like, oh boy, how does this all come together? Because SoftBank, if you don't know, yesterday was with Trump and promised $100 billion investment this time in basically what is going to turn out to be AI farms. That's what they're working on. And yeah, it just SoftBank is weird. Yeah, it is Peter Thiel, and I was getting to that point, and it led through this kind of I don't know. It's part of my Silicon Valley bend that I'm on. I'm on a binger right now. I'm on a binger. I don't know. See, that's the thing, SB. And I'm not saying that these are the most important rabbit holes to do. This is just mildly interesting to me because then it led me to the Carrier air conditioner debacle and how because I'm basically looking for, did SoftBank make good on the 50,000 jobs that were promised in the first Trump administration? And if not, was that reported anywhere? Because I can't find it as being reported anywhere. Which is weird, right? And then I thought, are there other? Then I was like looking, what are the other trade deals that have really backfired and things, and jobs in America and all that. And the Carrier debacle was another one that was just completely fucking lied about and didn't end up in anything beneficial for Americans as stated. So it gave me a desire to kind of like capture those stories of the lies that have been told and what the connections further are of the partners involved in it. And so that there's just a clear picture of this is what the implications are for a SoftBank CEO standing next to the incoming president. This is what the implications are. And so, I don't know. That was my rabbit hole. It's not clean. I'm not good at this, but it made me curious. So, thank you for coming to my rabbit hole talk. You had dropped another link. Wait, we are going to get through this. I know that. And it's going to be painful, and we're going to have to really reach out to other people and make sure that they're okay. All that good stuff. Let's see. What did I want? What was this? What's this? Oh, this is the New York thing about Mershon telling Donald Trump you're an asshole. So I think I'm going to read this because I want to read it and go for that. Yay, Oren, are you using patches, pouches, tablets, or e-cigs? Django boom. Yep. Nerd Reich is spot on. Yeah. And that's actually making them sound like serious people, and they're not. Although they're serious people who are in power. So joke's on you. Okay. So this is the Mershon order denying Trump. It came out yesterday. Did it come out yesterday or a couple days ago? I don't know. But anyway. So I'm going to read through it. It's 41 pages, so I might skip some sections, but we'll try and get to the basic kind of thing. Part 1, background and procedural history. So I'll switch gears now and bring you with me down this path. Come down this path. Come on. Here we go. Trial commenced on the instant matter on April 15, 2024, and continued through May 29, 2024, when the jury received the case to begin deliberations. The following day, on May 30th, 2024, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. That same day, this court set a deadline of June 13th, 2024 for the filing of post-trial motions and adjourned to July 11th for the imposition of sentence. The June 13th deadline passed without defendant filing motions. On July 1st, the Supreme Court of the United States rendered a landmark decision in Trump v. U.S. Defendant filed a pre-motion letter dated that same day seeking leave of this court to file the instant motion pursuant to criminal procedure law. Defendant argued in his letter that the jury's verdict must be set aside pursuant to Trump because the District Attorney of New York should not have been permitted to offer evidence at trial of President Trump's official acts. Defendant's letter dated July 1st, 2024. It's open cast mining. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. I feel validated. Defendant first broached the topic of presidential immunity on December 22nd, 2022, in a motion for summary judgment he filed in an unrelated case brought against him for defamation, Carroll v. Trump. In that motion, defendant argued that the suit should be dismissed because, quote, a president is entitled to absolute immunity from damages liability predicated on his official acts, and that the alleged defamatory statements included at that trial fell within the outer perimeter, that juicy little outer perimeter of his official duties as president. There you go, baby. Defendant was arraigned on the instant matter several months later in 2023. Approximately 1 month later, in May of 2023, defendant filed a notice of removal in the Southern District of New York v. Trump. In the notice of removal, he argued that this case involves important federal questions because the indictment contains charges related to conduct that defendant committed while he was president of the United States that was within the color of his office, which is a bland banana. The motion was denied by Judge Hellerstein on July 19th, 23, who found that the defendant failed to show that the conduct charged by the indictment is for or relating to any act performed by or for the president under color of the official acts of a president. On June 13th, 2023, defendant was indicted in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida on charges related to his alleged handling of classified documents. U.S. v. Trump, hereinafter referred to as the Florida Documents Matter. Florida. On August 3rd, 2023, the defendant was indicted in Washington, D.C. for allegedly interfering with the 2020 presidential election. Who, me? Was his defense. U.S. v. Trump. On that's the January 6th matter. On September 29th, 2023, defendant filed an omnibus motion in the instant matter, which he did not raise any issues with respect to presidential immunity or the supremacy clause. Go figure. Defendant, 5 days later, defendant moved to dismiss the January 6th matter on the grounds of immunity. Okay, they're going through the TikTok of each situation. That same day, defendant moves in limine in the instant matter where he sought to preclude. I will read this. That same day, defendant filed motions in limine in the instant matter wherein he sought, among other things, to preclude the people from arguing that, quote, President Trump sought to improperly influence the 2016 election, preclude the testimony of Dino Sajudeen, Karen McDougal, and Stephanie Clifford, preclude the people from suborning Michael Cohen's perjury, and preclude the people from introducing the nearly 100 statements they seek to attribute to President Trump. Defendant's motions in limine. Notably, defendant did not raise the defense of presidential immunity, even though he had already done so in the notice of removal he filed with the SDNY on the Florida documents matter and on the January 6th matter. In fact, defendant again failed to argue presidential immunity in his reply to the people's motions in limine, which he filed a week later on February 29th. Well, okay, but then he's really bad at what he's doing, so why does he get away with it? If he doesn't follow, like proper procedure, like what the fuck? You lose, bud. All right, so let me see what other sections, because I want to make sure I get some good stuff. All right, immunity. My kingdom for immunity. Yeah, this is minutia. All right, arguments of the parties. All right, defendant moves to dismiss the indictment and vacate the jury verdict on the grounds that the people introduced evidence in the grand jury and at trial relating to defendant's official acts as president. In violation of the presidential immunity doctrine as pronounced by the Supreme Court, bitches, and the supremacy clause, defendant further argues that the alleged violation is not subject to harmless error analysis, and even if it were, the harm caused is irreparable, even though I'm king of the world. Specifically, defendant argues that certain official acts evidence admitted at trial concerned actions taken pursuant to core executive power for which absolute immunity applies. Clarence Thomas said so. Defendant further argues that should this court find that defendant is not entitled to absolute immunity, then it is equally clear that he is entitled to presumptive immunity because the evidence admitted at trial fits comfortably within the outer perimeter, the squishy part of the president's authority, and the people have failed to rebut this claim with evidence unrelated to motive as required by Trump's court decision. Hello. Defendant identifies the following evidence as improperly received at trial. Private communications with Hope. Office of Government Ethics form. Don't read that. The observations of Madeleine Westerhout. Don't listen to her. Director of Oval Office Operations regarding defendants' preferences and practices. Oh, is that what we're calling it now? I love that saying. That's such a great joke. In the Oval Office. The testimony of Michael Cohen. Poof. Regarding his communications with the defendant and others about presidential pardon power, testimony regarding a pressure campaign, and testimony about his conversations with David Pecker. That's right. Remember him? The owner of National Enquirer? Yeah. About a related... why haven't we heard from him? Is he in jail or something? I can't remember. Now I've forgotten about David Pecker. God, there's so many little rats running about. About a related Federal Election Commission FEC inquiry and 5 sets of posts from 2018 and 5 sets of posts from 2018 on President Trump's official White House Twitter account. The people argue that defendant failed to preserve the majority of his objections. The people further argue that should the court consider the merits of the motion despite the procedural bar, the evidence defendant identifies is wholly unrelated to any official acts as president and thus not entitled to any form of immunity, whether it be the grand jury or at trial. In the alternative, the people argue that the evidence at issue relates only to the outer perimeter, that squishy part of the president's authority, which is entitled to only to presumptive immunity, which the government has successfully rebutted. Well, that just seems like a he said, she said. What did I read? Rebutted without inquiring into the president's motives in adherence with Trump. Finally, the people argue that if any of the evidence in dispute was admitted in violation of either immunity prohibition, the error was harmless in light of the overwhelming evidence of guilt. 34 times, baby. Okay, so let's see about this. All right, so this is like what you can do with a verdict, what can happen with a verdict. Okay, let's see if this is interesting. Discussion preservation. The threshold issue this court must consider then is whether the claims of presidential immunity were properly preserved for this court's review. The people argue that defendant failed to preserve any claim of presidential immunity as to the evidence in dispute other than the testimony of Ms. Hicks and OGE Form 278C. People's response, while defendant claims that he preserved objections as to all evidence in his pre-trial filings and at trial, he also argues that the court should overlook any failure to properly preserve in the interest of justice or for good cause. However, good cause and interest of justice are not legally viable standards for a, let's see, what is a CPL? I can't recall what that is. Review in absence of proper preservation. Trial judges, which on the precedent is trial judges have no power to vacate a conviction on interest of justice grounds. Oh, I'm not sure I understand that, but it's interesting. Trial court lacks appellate division jurisdiction and may only grant a motion where alleged error was preserved by proper objection at trial. Okay. Defendant also argues that Trump, who do I have to blackmail or bribe for immunity? No. Defendant also argues that Trump constitutes an intervening decision and therefore that Trump the case and therefore provides an exception to the preservation requirement. So I didn't have to bring it up. Okay, fuck off. This court disagrees. The New York Court of Appeals in People v. Cabrera emphasized that preservation is crucial, except in the most limited of circumstances, as it gives the parties an essential opportunity to prove relevant factual and legal issues, thereby ensuring that the record before this court reflects a full airing of the points that bear upon an ultimate merits determination. It further held that the preservation is essential where the failure to raise a claim in the court of first instance means that the appellate record is inadequate to fairly assess the merits. And this is emphasized even if governing law was altered by an intervening Supreme Court decision. Wow, that's a quote. The Cabrera court highlighted several New York Court of Appeals decisions that reiterated the need. So there's a very strong precedent for not dismissing. For example, the Court of Appeals held in People v. Martin that the intervening Supreme Court decision in Payton v. New York, which had changed the law in New York regarding warrantless arrest inside the home, did not excuse a failure to preserve in the lower courts. The intervening decision in Trump equally does not excuse a failure by defendant to adequately preserve his objections to the evidence he now claims was erroneously admitted. Defendant also claims that the admission of what he has characterized as official acts evidence constitutes a, quote, mode of proceedings error, which does not require preservation. Mode of proceedings errors occupy a very narrow set of claims. To qualify, the error must, quote, go to the essential validity of the process and be so fundamental that the entire trial is irreparably tainted. Most errors of constitutional dimension must be preserved in the trial court. Examples of mode of proceedings errors include, quote, changing the burden of proof, consent to less than a 12-member jury in a criminal case, and deviation from state constitutionally mandated requirements for an indictment. That's interesting. And more recently, the Court of Appeals held that notwithstanding the Supreme Court's decision in New York State Rifle v. Pistol Association, Inc., v. Bruin, which affected a substantial change in Second Amendment jurisprudence and raises significant questions about whether, in light of Bruin, lack of licensure is an essential element of New York's criminal possession of a weapon offense and must therefore be charged to the jury in all cases. It did not qualify as a mode of proceedings error. The alleged errors here do not satisfy the narrow mode of proceedings exception. As briefly summarized above, defendant failed to seek a pretrial ruling on the issue of presidential immunity until March 7th, 2024, less than 3 weeks before the scheduled start of trial. Although defendant argues that the Supreme Court's grant of certiorari on the issue of presidential immunity on February 28, 2024 established the timelines of his filing, that is not the case, as was thoroughly explained in this court's decision of April 3, 2024, which tracked the history of litigation in the instant matter and paralleled it with defendant's immunity-based filings in his federal manners. Oh, someone's been paying attention. That analysis established what can only be explained as defendant's affirmative decision to not file a timely immunity-based motion here. On April 15, 2024, the first day of jury selection, defendant informed this court of his intent to file another motion for preclusion of evidence on the grounds of presidential immunity. The following day, defendant formally filed a pre-motion letter, which incorporated by reference his March 7th submission. In the April 16th letter, defendant sought a pretrial ruling on the grounds of presidential immunity as to two specific areas of potential evidence: the OGE Form 278C and certain social media posts later identified as People's Exhibits, blah, blah, blah. Defendant also made a sweeping reference to other categories of potential evidence, including witness testimony regarding defendant's official acts during time in office, such as anticipated testimony from former White House staff regarding their communications with President Trump during his first term. On April 18, 2024, the people responded by letter arguing the court should adhere to previous ruling that defendant's motion for pretrial consideration was untimely, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Wait, decision on the merits. Okay. In accordance with this court's ruling, I love quotes, defendant preserved his claim with respect to the testimony of Ms. Hicks as to, quote, statements made by defendant while he was president of the United States by making a timely objection prior to her testimony. Indeed, on May 3rd, 2024, immediately after the people called Ms. Hicks to the stand and before the start of her direct examination, the following colloquy took place. Mr. Bove, may I approach? The court, sure. Mr. Bove, thank you, Judge. I'm sorry. We want to put on the record our objection to on presidential immunity grounds. I expect there will be testimony from Ms. Hicks related to statements by President Trump while he was president of the United States. Unless you tell me it's necessary, I prefer not to lodge the objections by question. We object to the subject of her testimony based on the authorities we submitted, and our position being that the testimony is evidence of official acts being presented at a criminal trial against the president, and it should be precluded. Mr. Colangelo, I don't anticipate we'll be showing any exhibits that fall within that category. We intend to elicit testimony, and we have briefed at length the argument that the rule of inadmissibility that Mr. Bove just described does not exist and is not a rule. The inadmissibility rule was not a rule that was ever recognized. Several cases that we have cited has held the exact opposite in the analogous context of consular immunity, as we cited in other papers holding that evidence of otherwise immune conduct is nonetheless admissible in a trial regarding criminal conduct for non-immune acts. So, the testimony we intend to elicit involves statements by the defendant, and there is no doctrine that would allow excluding it. The court. I believe I ruled on this as well, so the objection is noted. I don't think you need to object to each question. Mr. Bove, thanks, Judge. Therefore, this court agrees that the objection was properly preserved as to the testimony of Ms. Hicks pertaining to official acts. Defendant identifies the official acts as President Trump's private conversations with the White House communications director. Is that what we're calling it now? And separates those conversations into 4 specific communications. Defendant now appears to expand his objections to include all of Hicks' testimony concerning events in 2018. Hi, Val. How are you, darling? Hope you're safe. I'm so glad to hear from you every day. I need to hear from you every day. Is that okay? I'm not your mom, but I just want to make sure you're okay every day. There is no reference in the testimony to any alleged acts other than the 4 he has identified. In fact, of the 98 pages of transcript memorializing Ms. Hicks' testimony, only 11 pages pertain to the 4 instances identified by the defendant. Those 4 objections are preserved and will be addressed individually in the discussion section below. All right, so he objected to that, and I think likewise, okay, so he failed. Declined to rule. No. Yeah, so this court agreed with defendant on the other evidentiary grounds, and in its decision and order on defendant's motion in limine dated March 18th, excluded testimony about the alleged pressure campaign unless and until such time as defendant opened the door. Yeah, so they actually, when they said, we are asserting privilege, that was adjudicated, right? Like that decision was kind of adjudicated. He didn't get an unfair treatment. Sorry, not sorry. All right, let me see where else, if there's any juicy statements. Absolutely, I appreciate it. I'm fine. Found the Home on Wheels Alliance caravan. Nice. I love it. Oh, nice. I love it. Let's see. This is Westerhouse. What was her thing? With respect to Miss Westerhout, defendant did not object to her testimony on presidential immunity grounds, either in pretrial or at trial. Defendant argues that he preserved an objection in his pretrial filings, apparently referring to a broadly worded general objection in the introduction of official acts evidence contained in his March 7th pretrial motion. That objection lacked any specificity and referred generally to the testimony of witnesses. Oh my God. It is not for a trial court to independently identify without guidance from counsel the evidence a party finds objectionable. Lastly, a defendant claims he did not object to Ms. Westerhout's testimony as he had done prior to the testimony of Ms. Hicks to avoid antagonizing the court or testing its patience. We thought you'd yell at us, Judge. We didn't want to get yelled at. That's dumb. Boy, these are really bad lawyers. Lastly, However, an examination of the trial record demonstrates that this court did not curtail counsel or limit his right to object. In fact, the record demonstrates that counsel objected approximately 170 times during the course of the trial. Well, but I need a barometer. Is that a lot? A little? What is that? How many days? How many times? Is it bad? I don't know. Because defendant failed to timely object to her testimony about defendant's work habits, preferences, relationships, and contacts. I want to read her. Did we have her testimony? Is her testimony a transcript anywhere? I need to read that. Oh, bye, Paul J. Sending you big love. You're being carried to therapy on the wings of love. No, but in all seriousness, have a wonderful time. I hope it is helpful, and I can't wait. I love therapy. Therapy's rocks. It rocks socks. It rocks my socks. Okay. I want to read her testimony. I really need to read her testimony. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, Mr. Pecker. The evidence adduced at trial that established that a meeting between defendant, Mr. Pecker, chairman of American Media, Inc., and Mr. Cohen took place in 2015 in Trump Tower. At that meeting, the three participants conspired to influence the 2016 presidential election. The scheme required that Mr. Pecker publish positive stories about the defendant to promote his presidential candidacy. Mr. Pecker would also prevent publication of negative stories about defendant by acquiring the stories and not publishing them. Mr. Pecker would also, among other things, publish negative stories about rival presidential candidates. The jury heard evidence that various stories were published by AMI in accordance with this agreement. The jury also heard about 2 stories that were obtained to prevent their publication. The stories were purchased subject to non-disclosure agreements to prevent the public from hearing the allegations contained therein. One NDA was executed between AMI and Karen McDougal, a woman who claimed to have had an affair with defendant prior to his campaign for the presidency. A second NDA was executed between Mr. Cohen on behalf of the defendant and Stormy Daniels, Miss Clifford, a.k.a. Stephanie Clifford, an adult film actress and producer and head of her own studio, thank you very much, who alleged to have had an intimate encounter with defendant in 2006. With respect to Ms. McDougal, the funds to pay the NDA were provided by AMI. With respect to Ms. Daniels, the funds to effectuate the NDA were provided by Mr. Cohen on behalf of the defendant. The testimony further established that defendant reimbursed Mr. Cohen for those payments with checks he signed and authorized in 2017 when he was president. Those checks and the financial documents related to the checks falsely reflected the payments as retainer fees for Mr. Cohen in his capacity as private counsel to the defendant and not as reimbursement for Mr. Cohen's payment to Ms. Daniels. Turning now to the evidence at issue, this court must first determine whether certain evidence admitted through Ms. Hicks, Ms. Westerhout, and Mr. Cohen, as well as postings by defendant on social media and financial disclosure form OGE Form 278 for 2017 reflected official acts subject to absolute immunity. In Trump, the majority identified only one instance of official conduct entitled to absolute immunity and remanded the matter for district court to conduct the remainder of the analysis as to all other conduct at issue. The court provided guidance to the district court to assist in differentiating between official and unofficial acts, noting, in part, that it is the nature of the function performed, not the identity of the actor who performs it, that informs our immunity analysis. As noted by Justice Coney Barrett in her concurrence in part, in the absence of precedent directly on point, the use of a hypothetical is a highly useful legal tool, and one would be hard-pressed to devise a hypothetical more on point to guide the analysis between official and unofficial conduct than the case at bar. Is a president's in-office conduct to conceal payments to an adult film actress to keep information from the public eye relating to an encounter that occurred prior to his presidency official or unofficial? While Judge Hellerstein in the Southern District of New York did not conduct the type of full-throated analysis prescribed by Trump because the notice of removal he considered was filed well before Trump was decided, he nonetheless did analyze some of the conduct at issue here. In rejecting defendant's supremacy claim in the instant matter, the 34 counts, Judge Hellerstein concluded that reimbursing Cohen for advancing hush money to Stephanie Clifford cannot be considered a performance of a constitutional duty, and falsifying business records to hide such reimbursement and to transform the reimbursement into a business expense for defendant and income to Cohen likewise does not relate to a presidential duty. It is therefore logical and reasonable to conclude that the act of falsifying records to cover up the payments so that the public would not be made aware is decidedly an unofficial act. As a campaigner, so too should the communications to further that same cover-up be unofficial. Well, what did little Hopi Hicks have to say? She testified at trial about certain allegations that became public during the final days of the campaign that cast defendant in a negative light. She further testified about the manner and extent to which she participated in defendant's response to the allegations. Ms. Hicks worked in the White House from January 2017 to April 2018 and returned in March 2020 until January 2021. Her first position was director of... Okay, we don't need to go through her thing. I'm loving it. Okay. Defendant argues that in her roles at the White House, any communications between Ms. Hicks and defendant must receive absolute immunity pursuant to the Take Care Investing clauses, as defendant's ability to speak freely to Ms. Hicks was a core function of the executive. Is that what we're calling it now? According to defendant, because Ms. Hicks wielded executive power on his behalf, authority that exists pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution, any communications he had with her are subject to absolute immunity and, or at the very least, presumptive immunity. The people argue that the communications defendant had with Ms. Hicks, which are the subject of this motion, constitute unofficial acts and are not entitled to any level of immunity, and submit that even if the court were to find that the communications fall within the outer perimeter, that squishy part of the defendant's authority, subject to presumptive immunity, that presumption has been rebutted by ample evidence unrelated to motive as required under Trump. All right, here we go. Hicks. Ms. Hicks testified that she was aware on March 20th, 2018, Ms. McDougal sued AMI over the NDA she entered into with AMI. The text was sent on March 20th, 2018, the same day the lawsuit was filed. In the text, Ms. Westerhout asks Ms. Hicks, "Hey, the president wants to know if you called David Pecker again." That was the extent of Ms. Hicks' testimony about that text. Ms. Hicks testified that shortly after the McDougal lawsuit was filed, Ms. McDougal was interviewed on CNN by Anderson Cooper. Ms. Hicks testified that following that interview, she spoke with the defendant about the news coverage of the interview, how it was playing out. Ms. Hicks did not testify as to any actual statements defendant made to her. And Ms. Hicks testified about a January 2018 inquiry by the Wall Street Journal regarding a story it planned to publish about the alleged sexual encounter between defendant and Ms. Daniels and the NDA, which was executed in 2016 in the days leading up to the election. Ms. Hicks, in her testimony, Ms. Hicks stated that she discussed the story with defendant and how to respond to the story, how he would like a team to respond to the story. She further testified about the following statements attributed to a White House official in that Wall Street Journal article. Quote, "These are old, recycled reports, which were published and strongly denied prior to the election. The official declined to respond to questions about an agreement with Ms. Clifford." Ms. Hicks testified that she was not the official, but that she had discussed the statement with the defendant before it was issued. Ms. Hicks also testified about a February 2018 conversation she had with defendant about a statement attributed to Mr. Cohen in a New York Times article the day before. In the article, Mr. Cohen is reported as stating, among other things, that he made a payment to Ms. Daniels without the defendant's knowledge. Ms. Hicks further testified that the defendant told her, quote, he spoke to Michael and that Michael had paid this woman to protect him, the defendant, from a false allegation. And that, Michael felt like it was his job to protect him, and that's what he was doing. And he did it out of the kindness of his own heart. He never told anybody about it, He was continuing to try to protect him up until the point where he felt he had to state what was true. Okay. She further testified that he thought it was a generous, thing to do, and he was appreciative of the loyalty, and that the defendant wanted to know how it was playing, and just my thoughts and opinion about the story versus having the story, a different kind of story, before the campaign, had Michael not made that payment. And that defendant's opinion was it's better to be dealing with it now, and that it would have been bad to have that story come out before the election. Oops. Defendant's argument that any communication he had with Ms. Hicks is subject to absolute immunity by virtue of the positions he held in the White House is mistaken. Womp, 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 womp. All right, let's see. What do we got? Okay, so this is the testimony of Ms. Westerhout. As previously noted, objection to Ms. Westerhout's testimony was unpreserved and thus unreviewable. Nonetheless, as an alternative, this court found that the argument also fails on the merits because her testimony reflected unofficial conduct in its entirety. It bears noting that before Ms. Westerhout testified, it was defendant who first elicited testimony about defendant's work habits and practices from Ms. Hicks on cross-examination as excerpted below. So they opened the door to the questioning that they then objected to. Come on. Defense counsel. And that office you described, the Oval Office and the area around it, that was a very hectic space in 2017, right? Ms. Hicks. Yes. Defense counsel. And it sounds like for a period of time when you had that job, you could see from where you were sitting the Resolute desk. Yes. And that's where President sat? Yes. When he was acting as president, right? Yeah, that's right. So you got a sense of how chaotic that environment was day to day, right? Uh-huh. That particular area wasn't necessarily chaotic in a bad way. I just want to clarify. It was very busy. There was a lot going on. There were certainly parts of the experience that were chaotic, but he was constantly moving. People were working very hard to make it not chaotic and keep it orderly. Yes. But the fact is there were many meetings and not a lot going on, right? Yes. And from where you sat, you could see that the president was frequently multitasking, right? Yes. And people were interrupting what he was doing, right? Yes. Different priorities would get called out to his attention and he would pivot. That's right. Ms. Westerhout's testimony on direct and further explored on cross paralleled the cross-examination of Ms. Hicks regarding his work habits and presidential practices. Mwah. Okay. Here we go. Here's Ms. Westerhout's testimony. She may have the same voice as Hope. Don't hate me. And so would you see him signing things without reviewing them? Oh no, I'll do a different one. Yes. And would you see him signing checks without reviewing them? Yes. And would you see him signing checks while he was on the phone, right? Yes. And would you see him sometimes signing checks when he was meeting with people? Yes. And there were different types of people that he was meeting with, right? Yes. Sometimes he was meeting with top foreign leaders of the world, right? Yes, uh-huh. And other times he was meeting with you? Yeah, uh-huh. And so he wouldn't be signing the checks when he was meeting with the top people in the world. Yes. But maybe when he was meeting with you talking about something else, he would also be signing documents. Yeah, talking about the schedule or anything that had been going on. The chief of staff that he would be meeting with? Yes. And other people he would be doing that? That's right. He was a person who multitasked, right? Oh, definitely. And you were asked by the prosecutor if you coordinated with the Trump organization during the first year by asking questions of the Trump organization employees, right? Yes. The person that you coordinated most with, Rona Graff, right? Yes. And this did not have to do with the Trump organization business, did it? No. It had to do with his personal affairs, right? Yeah, uh-huh. For example, you needed his contact list, right? Yes, uh-huh. So that first year, you spent a lot of time talking with Rona Graff, right? Yes. But you did not spend time talking with the Trump organization employees to coordinate business of the Trump organization, right? No, uh-uh. It was just personal aspects for Mr. Trump, right? That's correct. And scene. Yeah. All right. And then the form. Now let's go. Give us the meat. Give us the bottom line here. I don't want to go through Michael Cohen's testimony. I'm about to turn into a pumpkin. Here we go. Oops, why is that doing that? Okay. I just want to see where they go. And you don't get a soda, and you don't get a soda. Oh boy. We should read the rest of this though, actually. Well, this court finds the defendant preserved his claims only as to the testimony of Hope Hicks, the OGE form, and Twitter postings identified as these exhibits. All other claims are denied as unpreserved, and the court further finds that the evidence related to the preserved claims relate entirely to unofficial conduct and thus receive no immunity protections. And as to the claims that were unpreserved, this court finds in the alternative that when considered on the merits, they too are denied because they relate entirely to unofficial conduct entitled to no immunity protections. And further, even if this court were to deem all of the contested evidence, both preserved and unpreserved, as official conduct falling within the squishy perimeter of defendant's presidential authority, it would still find that the people's use of these acts as evidence of the decidedly personal acts of falsifying business records poses no danger of intrusion on the authority and function of the executive branch, a conclusion amply supported by non-motive related evidence. I could cry at appropriate moments. My progress on the lounge coloring project is in signal. Fuck yeah! We're going there next. Lastly, this court concludes that if error occurred regarding the introduction of the challenged evidence, such error was harmless in light of the overwhelming evidence of guilt. Defendant's motion to dismiss the indictment and vacate the jury verdict pursuant to this criminal blah, blah, blah is denied. So there. So suck it. I don't know. I use Signal. I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I was asking that question last night, Val. What are there actual good, are there apps people trust? I don't know. Is Signal really as trustworthy? And what is our criterion for that? I did a lot of tent camping in the past, but this is better. No more sleeping. Oh no, girl. I couldn't do that. I couldn't sleep I could sleep on the ground if it was like a short-term thing, but I couldn't do it all the time. I just don't want to. It's not even that I couldn't. It's just that I don't want to. Okay, what do we got here, Gal? Alejandra Caraballo Elon is now the richest person who has ever lived. Okay, so I need to stop for a minute here. Do you remember when Elon bought Twitter? And there were all kinds of reports. I'm going to have to go back to that time because I recall there were a lot of reports about how cash poor he was at that moment. Does anybody else remember it that way, or am I am I creating my own history? Wasn't there talk about how is he going to make the payments on his, you know what I mean? Remember that conversation? Am I wrong? Am I wrong about that? Like, doesn't this seem like a lot of money for someone who was kind of, there was some chatter about his ability to support this deal that he had. I'm going to have to go back. I'll go back and look. Everyone was saying he didn't have the money. Exactly, Oren. Thank you. Because I think I remember that way. Now, that could be, just not true or whatever. But it kind of it gives me pause. And also, what I want to start getting into as well on these shows, Saudi Arabia finance Twitter. That started coming up in my SoftBank rabbit hole too, by the way. So I got to get my shit together on that SoftBank thing. Signal is supposed to be safe for now. That's what Teresa says. Yeah, there were like 10 financiers. Yep. At the time when we heard that offer, we thought it was a joke. Yeah. So, and I thought it was a catch and kill, and he'd be made. And what I said at the time was, I remember arguing back to people who were like, oh, he doesn't really, blah, blah, blah. I said, I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to be made whole on the other side. So yeah, he might have bought something and started to trash the asset, but he's the house. He's going to come out on top. And I don't know what's happened. He certainly has government contracts. And like I just said, I really want to understand the oligarch hold on our government a little better, get a feel for that landscape of what exists now in our government, and what is, then it will provide a benchmark for this time. I'm thinking data. I'm always thinking data. Oh, let me see I want to show you the Lolo Lounge coloring page that is being created. I don't want to miss that opportunity. Hold on. Speaking of Signal. Oh my God. This is so cute. Oh my God. I love this. I see a tattoo coming. That's what I see. All right. Hold on. Is that? No, that's not it. Boop, boop. Okay. So let me see if I can make this bigger. I don't know how to make it bigger. I don't think I can. Can I not do that? Okay. Well, I guess you can kind of tell what's going on here. I know, but there's more to it now, and now it has color. Now it has color. And this coloring book's going to raise money for access to gender affirming care. No, we're not doing a coloring book. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Wait, is that the picture? No. Wow, I can't tell what that picture is. There it is. There's a dino. What does that say? Wake and bake down in the corner. No chuds. No chuds. No chuds. No chuds. I would imagine Diddy invested in a lot of things. The man had a lot of money. Yeah. Her drawing the other day. We got all kinds spaced out. We got lemon. We got juice box with blueberries. Balloons. I just saw the balloons. I fucking love that. And a baby dino in 1776. I fucking love that. Yeah, right? Right? Remember that? You're not losing all that money for nothing. Money for nothing and the chicks for free, right? Am I right? Love you. Oh my gosh. Gal, want to talk about my idea for an animated political series? It writes itself, Lolo's Lounge. I'll send my inspiration to your DM. Perfect. I love it. I love it. More, more, more. How do you like it? How do you like it? More, more, more. All right. Well, I am going to leave you for now to continue on your Tuesdays. I hope your Tuesday is good. I hope those in the way of weather are keeping safe. Make sure you're safe. I hope that all of our friends who are struggling right now find some relief. You know who you are. And I hope that I hope I see you tomorrow morning. That's always the hope. So yeah, I will see you tomorrow morning on Wake and Bake. And then tomorrow night we have movies this week. Tomorrow night is Documentary Wednesday on Discord. And we will be showing The Brink, which is the 2019 documentary through HBO done on Steve Bannon. So we'll do that on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, and then on Friday, because we're getting into that holiday time-offy time of year. On Friday we'll have a double feature, and it'll start at 6 as well. And I haven't seen it either, SB. The first movie will be Princess Bride, so not a documentary. And then, as a special after hours Discord at the movies, we will show Paranoia, which is also commonly referred to as Orgasmo, which is a 1969 cray pick. Camp Diva Max shared it, and we're both lovers of Carol Baker. So this is a Carol Baker joint, and it promises to be good. It's going to be naughty, and it's going to be good. It's full of bad girls. That's right. It's full of bad girls. So yeah, so join us Friday night. The fun starts at 6 p.m. Pacific on the Discord channel. I'll put all the details. I started yesterday, but I'll put all the details with the links and remind people as it comes up. But yeah, join us for a little bit of just Discord mania. Anyway, thanks again for coming. I really do hope that your Tuesday ends up the way that you need it to end up, and that you get some rest and relaxation in this crazy world. So thank you again. I will see you guys soon. Bye.